And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bashing us, him.
Right. Attention to roll call.
All right, everybody. Top of the morning. Nighthawk 13666 doing roll call, of course. Top of the morning, folks. Welcome to roll call. On your way in, please like, share. Yes, thank you so much for saying that, brother. Like, share, and subscribe. Nighthawk, President Duty, sirs. Thank you, brother. Like, share, and subscribe. You know, that's what we need. Friends, listeners to the podcast, support us, please. We build together. Listen, before we go into this, I just want to say it's 8:05 Eastern Time, 5:05 Pacific Time. New York and LA, of course. New York lost yesterday. I was hanging out with a couple of cops. I want to give them a shout out. A couple of cops from Cathedral City in the desert of California. Really cool guys, man. I was hanging out with the deputy chief of this one particular department. A sergeant there. I don't want to name their names. I know Juju might get jealous. Might make some phone calls to this police department over there. But really cool guys. Let me tell you, it's a small department, but you can tell there are, thank God to see that there's still some morale and some camaraderie left in the law enforcement community, because this particular department, it was the deputy chief, sergeant, great relationship. These guys are hanging out, and you could see the level of respect also. Like, they have a relationship, they have a friendship, but the amount of respect and professionalism between them was amazing. They hooked me up with a challenge coin. Surprisingly, the challenge coin did not have a picture of the deputy chief. It was actually a picture representing Cathedral City, the police department. So shout out to our new friends and listeners to the podcast. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, we watched the game. I was in enemy territory. You know, of course, New York lost. So, but it was cool. Good people, man.
Yeah, crazy. So he didn't have his own challenge coin. That's weird. That's so unlike the NYPD, right? Let me glorify myself, please. Let me praise myself. You know what's funny about these? The new NYPD. They don't even have just like when it first started, every person were getting their own challenge coin, but now these dudes have like multiple versions of their own challenge coin and their own image on it. You know, like it's pretty wild, dude. It's I guess whatever. I don't know.
It was pretty interesting too. It was pretty cool. So I was talking to these guys. I was surprised. You know, of course, started coming up about what type of firearms you carry, what type of ammunition, and they're actually allowed to carry whatever they want. And this, surprisingly, for California, whatever caliber they want, whatever firearm, as long as they qualify on it, they could carry it. So of course,
they didn't learn the autograph yet. That's all. They didn't learn the autograph. They got to go. You got to go to the school in New York City if you guys are listening to us. And what you do is you get the chief gets buddied up with a manufacturer like SIG and Smith and Wesson and all this stuff, and then you retire and you become a consultant, and then you get the city contracts for that, and you have your department outlaw the rest of the guns. Say your guys can't carry. You could only carry these guns, so that every gun sold you get a piece of. It's called the art of the graft. It's like art of the steal, the art of the deal. You know.
If I worked for the police department, I would choose if I knew better. Know what I know now. If I had to go back in time, I would try to be the sergeant in the equipment section. Then I would get myself a job at like one of these tactical companies, maybe like something like 511. And then I would get them to be a proprietary item for the police department. You think that's a good idea?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. It's actually, that's chapter 2 in the art of the graft. After you're done with the guns and the bulletproof vest, you move over to the equipment now. You know, it's the art of the graft.
I don't know what's going to come out first. Is it going to be crumbs or the art of the graft?
It's part of the Crumb series. It's part of the Crumb series.
I'm going to call Stallone right now if he can help us out, get a couple sequels. How do we do this?
How to get rich off of public safety. That's what New York City should be called. How to become a millionaire off of taking a public safety job that you only make 6 figures in. How do you do it? You rob, steal, thief, you know, and sell your own challenge coins and start your own website and start your own merch company. Oh, and by the way, and build your own Instagram and X profile and media personality profile so that you could benefit later on in life too. It's public safety in New York City is it's a graft. That's all it is.
Yeah, I'm confused. Shout out to Ron Layson, who's in retirement, great friend to the podcast here. He hooked me up. He had not only did he have a challenge coin, but then it was a gigantic challenge coin. I was the first to get it when he had this batch of challenge coins made. But surprisingly, Ron Layson, your picture wasn't on it. I don't know why. So go back to the drawing board. You need to have one with your picture on it. I'll take that one too. That one was actually a pretty cool challenge coin, actually. If you got a firearm and did something pretty cool, he hooked you up with a challenge coin. That was cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, Pat Donahue says, you become a regional sales director with zero experience in marketing or sales. And he's talking about basically the equipment, the firearms, the bulletproof vest, whatever it is. Because I do, we're kidding about some stuff, but we're not kidding about other stuff. I do like that the NYPD tests guns. I like that we have staff to do that. We have a gunsmith, we have a range. They really put some guns through rigorous testing, things of that nature to make sure they perform in the line of duty. So there is some method to the madness. The problem is when guns actually pass and equipment actually passes with flying colors and they don't get brought in. I mean, so then that's when you see the politics behind everything, and you see, you see what's going on. And then, namely, what Eric just brought up, those 511 pants. It really bothers me more and more every day that I think about it. After reading about the first police commissioner, that was when the 5 boroughs joined and the NYPD was officially formed, what he did with the button, the Murphy button, where he patented a button and then he made it mandatory that everybody put these buttons on. I mean, I instantly, like, I'm reading it and I'm just like, the pants are just flashing in my head. And I'm like, this is exactly what's going on. And, and then like, I don't know why I just been on this, I guess because it's the hot topic, but I've been on this corruption kick of like reading police corruption, watching police corruption stuff. And then there was this interview and this lieutenant that was on there who yelled at me one time. He was giving a lecture and I was putting notes in my phone, and I was actually writing exactly what he said in there. And he's like, "Pick your head up, sergeant." I was like a young sergeant, and I'm like, I'm taking notes about what you're saying. And I guess he didn't know what the hell I was talking about. He's like, "You're on your phone," and I was like, whatever. So I didn't take any notes.
At least those buttons were 7 cents.
But he was on this panel and he said, he goes, you know what the thing is with corruption, with police corruption, it doesn't matter the time. It doesn't matter the ethnic makeup of the cops. It doesn't matter if they're white, black, Irish, Italian, Puerto Rican, Dominican. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. Cops are dealing with the same things in the 1800s that they were dealing with today. He goes, so the same type of corruption, police corruption you were dealing with in the 1800s, you will be dealing with today. And I was like, I never thought about that, but it's true. The same social factors are there, right? Prostitution, gambling, drugs, whatever it may be. What's drugs, alcohol, some type of vice, these vice-related things. And cops are directly involved with it. They know the players, and that's where corruption starts.
Oh, look at Juju. Oh, poor Juju. Juju thinks that you and I are not allowed to talk. Look, I usually don't read Juju's comments, but this one is classic. Where is it? I got to read this here. See if you can find this here. Juju. Good morning, Juju. Just look at guys like John, Eric, and Ron Layson living it up in retirement. Benefits unavailable to regular New Yorkers, yet they still complain. Oh, John, because you and I and Ron Layson are retirement, we're not allowed to talk. We're not allowed to think. Sorry, I missed the memo. I didn't know that. I'm supposed to put a muzzle on or a mute button. I'm sorry. Well, shout out EDW and BMS. So we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. No. Only certain people are allowed to talk in retirement. Only if you speak out. Only if you speak out from a left-wing point of view and talk about the police department, is it okay? If you talk about the rank and file, if we sat up here and we talked about the rank and file and we said that they were racist and we said that they harm black and brown communities, if we said that the quota system was systemically racist, if we said all of those things, the 250s were systemically racist, nobody would care. We'd be lauded. We'd be lauded across the country. The police department would be bringing us up for speaking events. Tell everybody how racist we are. Please tell us all how racist we are. So only certain people are allowed, and only certain comedians, right? We learned that. I just learned that too. Only certain groups could have comedians make racist jokes, and other other groups can't, so yeah, that's where we're headed in the country. You guys missed the space yesterday with Cafecito break. She had it. Eric missed it. He was late. Ron didn't show up. Sal didn't show up. At this point, and all you guys are all.
I don't know if you know this, but there was a big game yesterday.
I go by the whole Bronx Tale thing. It's like, you think Mickey? Tell Mickey Mantle your father can't pay his bill.
I think Rob Nappy's right. I mean, talk about history with uniforms. He said when they pushed the switch back to the dark blue shirts in 1995, man, it's that long already. You guys can't imagine this shit had started. Some stores could not get them in stock. It was a major moneymaker. No surprise. It's amazing how you're right. I think no matter what you look at policing, it's just the same. It evolves. Now we got drones, but policing, the foundation's the same.
Yeah. You're just bringing more technology, bringing different contracts. Tom Joyce, he says, New York City. I think Tom's a retired lieutenant, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. I'm not sure. Tom, let us know what rank you are. I'm pretty sure you're a retired lieutenant. He says New York City has a 1-year moratorium for MOS on any vendor that does business. Lifetime moratorium if involved in testing and/or procurement. Permission of PC can grant a waiver. Tom, those are the old rules. This is the Crumbs administration. That no longer applies. If you have to deal with any of that, that means that you're not in with the in crowd. All you got to do is reach out to my friends who grew up in South Jamaica, Queens. I'll hook you right up. Hit me up. I'll get you guys right out there. Don't worry. A small donation to the Adams administration, we could clear up all this for you. We won't even look at it. I mean, we don't even have guys that are clearing. We have guys that are still active that are moonlighting, getting contracts.
Tom says he was a lieutenant.
He was a lieutenant.
Deuces 300 from Twitch. I agree on this one. There must have been some money made on this one. White shirt sergeants was the worst idea. Absolutely. How long did that last? That was a terrible idea. And I wonder who made money off that deal. Private contract, if the private contract. It's funny you said that because I was talking to those cops yesterday. Super cool. I mean, the deputy chief is hanging out with his guys. Obviously, the small department, the deputy chief is more equivalent to like a captain. But and the way they were hanging out and the level of respect, it was just so cool. But so he just said, how come you guys have you have to have certain guns and private contracts? that's all you can say, but you have private contracts.
The art of the graft, baby. That's it. So what was the police department again?
Yeah, shout out to them. Cathedral City. It's between Palm Desert and Palm Springs. Super cool guys, man. Really cool.
So yeah, if you guys want to get rich, just follow the New York City model, the art of the graft. Series 3 in the Crumbs book. Take it over. Yeah, so there was an interview yesterday. There was actually a few interviews that came out. I don't know if we're going to get to the major one. There was an interview on Pix 11. Shout out to Hassan. I think he sent that to me. I believe he sent it to Eric as well. A couple other people had sent us some videos about drones, things of that nature. We'll try to get to all of them. We'll see what we can get through. But I think something that's been emerging in New York City the last 2-3 years is this subway surfing. We're continuously seeing our youth playing this dumb game. I'm not going to lie. When I was a kid, when I was like 9, 10, 11, New York City, different place, we used to mess around on the train tracks. I'm not going to lie. We used to go stupid, dumb shit. It's dumb. I think the only thing that deterred that is, one, I got smart and I was like, yeah, I don't feel like getting run over and trapped in a train tunnel. And then the other thing is, if you got caught, there were consequences. You would get arrested for that. You would get arrested. And, and I've told you guys before, when I was 11 years old, I was arrested for something I didn't even do. And they put me on probation for 6 months. I think when we talk about not arresting our youth that are involved in this game, and then there's no follow-up prosecution and there's no consequence. I mean, I don't think there's currently anything in place to stop this from happening. Eric, what are you thinking about the subway surfing? Do you I'm hearing reporters echo that there's not really much the NYPD could do about that. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, come on. Absolutely not. First of all, the problem that I have with the NYPD, and actually people have this idea that the NYPD should do something different. The NYPD is a law enforcement agency. Why are we deviating from that? Why are we deviating from the fact that the NYPD's first mission is to make arrests? That's the bottom line. It's stupid. It's stupid to subway surf, and I get it. We're probably going to see more of a volume now than we did years ago because of social media, right? With social media, you get more attraction. But this idea that the NYPD should have other plans than, because what I would hear towards the end of my career, towards the end of my tenure, we hear from the politicians, we go to some of these community meetings as a special operations lieutenant, and you would hear, like, how do we correct this problem without arresting out of the situation? Like, we had a problem in some of the parks in the South Bronx, right? Obviously, with drug use, hypodermic needles all over the place. And a lot of response from the politicians was, well, how do we fix this without making arrests? Well, then why are you talking to NYPD? That was my response. Honestly, why are we talking to the NYPD? We're not social workers. We're out there. How do we fix a problem? We make arrests. And that's how people actually find a solution to it also. People don't like to get arrested. So in this particular case, Kaz Daughtry refers to this subway surfing incident that happens. We'll play it here. But the juveniles in question got a juvenile report. So that's a slap on the wrist. It's nothing. It's not an arrest. An arrest has to be made. That's what the NYPD does. That's what a law enforcement agency does. Make arrest, and that is the solution to the problem. But this idea that the NYPD should come up with other plans and shut people's social media accounts down, that's not what we do. I don't think we should get involved in that. That's a whole nother world. Let's make arrests. Let's keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. That's why we still have handcuffs, right? In 1901, I'm sure when they were out there getting the 7-cent buttons, they had cuffs. In 2024, we still have silver handcuffs. Let's make arrests. That's the foundation to policing, and that will solve the problem.
Yeah, I mean, getting involved in shutting down people's social media is insane because what does that have to do with deterring anything? They're trying to say, well, if the kid doesn't get the likes, he won't be involved in it. If he can't get the reach out there, he's not going to be involved in it. It's real dystopian, though. It's real dystopian because it starts with that, right? And then they move to, well, I'm trying to keep you guys safe from these two lieutenants on a podcast. They looked at this joke and they didn't think it was funny either, but like they just don't think it's a big deal, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous to democracy. So we have to shut down their stuff as well too. And we can't make fun of Kaz Jong-un, and we can't make fun of Chief Gobbleneck Shell. We can't do any of that stuff because if we do, we have to shut down their free speech, and maybe other people might make fun of them, and that's mean. And we don't like mean tweets, and we don't like mean people. So it's insane. This is an interview from Fox 5. Fox 5. I mean, I'm not even gonna like. I don't watch the news anymore. I especially don't watch Fox. I 100% don't watch Fox 5. I don't watch any corporate media at this point. Rosanna Scotto has asked, I think, Kaz Daughtry or snapped at him twice. Over the last few years, but they're all ground ball questions. I mean, these are layup interviews. Or I haven't seen the NYPD actually do an interview ever. I don't think ever. Maybe I think I've seen Kelly do some interviews. I think even Dermot Shea I've seen do a lot harder interviews. I'm not a fan of Dermot Shea. I think he had a great career. I think that he was a very smart man. But I was never a fan of him as the police commissioner. I thought he did a horrible job as the police commissioner. Absolutely horrific. But I watched a lot of interviews where he got a lot of hard questions. I don't see that at all anymore. I don't see this administration getting hard questions at all from the media. Everything just appears to be pre-planned, pre-questions, pre-answers. Everything is not organic. They're not real interviews. They're not.
That's another guy that promoted people by rocket fuel. He actually started the trend of promoting some of these executives by rocket fuel. And Mayor Eric Adams' administration just took it to another level. I mean, we saw quite a few promotions that I really thought was going to toss things up with the chiefs of the upper echelon, that were going to kill camaraderie. And I thought some of these chiefs would actually stand up back then and say something, but nobody ever said a word. I mean, John, you saw it. They were bumping up some of these people, got bumped up 2 and 3 ranks. We saw it with Pichardo, a couple of these other people that had, and meanwhile they left. That's the funny part. They got bumped up. So he definitely started the trend of promoting these people by rock and fuel. And this administration took it to a whole nother level. I thought his tenure was a disgrace. The fact that he disbanded anti-crime is just completely abysmal. And I think we'll feel the effects of it right now. So let's get into this silly interview. Of course, the Gotham brothers are back at it. Tom Sullivan said there was going to be one voice. I guess the Gotham brothers are one voice together. So here we go.
Yep. Before I play the video, I just want to read what Patrick Donahue says because, and then we'll play the video because he says, "I thought the drones were going to stop and prevent subway surfing?" Question mark. That was an inference that was made about these drones, or justify expedited and non-vetted contracts. Maybe the excessive MOS assigned to social media unit can open cases, identify, locate, and arrest. So I think that was a great opener for this video. Let's play this video, and Pat, this is going to answer your questions. Here we go.
With increased security in and around the stadium, as well as throughout the city.
All right, joining us this morning, NYPD Chief of Patrol John Schell and Kaz Daughtry, Deputy Commissioner of Operations. Nice to have you both here. So if people are going to the game tonight, what should they expect?
Well, they should expect to see a lot of police officers around, layered security, if you will. Transit cops will be heavy on the transit. We want people to take the train. You'll be very secure. You're going to see some assets from the police department. You will see some you want, as we always say. And we're going to make it a very good event, a very safe event. 3 nights in a row for the Yankees to get back into this thing.
All right. Are you going to do anything for Aaron Judge? Just so I know, Commissioner. We need to wake up Aaron Judge a little bit.
Aaron Judge is going to be totally fine tonight. He's back home where he belongs, and he's going to give the fans what they want to see.
All right. I'm just wondering, some of these stadiums for women, I'm asking for a friend, me. When you go to the stadium, are you allowed to bring a bag?
No bags inside. There'll be security checkpoints along the way. We got to keep it very safe. But for you, if you meet me by the left field fence, we can throw the bag over the fence, old school, like you're in high school. We'll take care of some.
So they're talking about security for the Yankee thing, right? So, and I love this because these are just ground ball because obviously we have the same plans forever. They never change anything. If you notice what he says when he's talking about that, they keep using this line from The Departed. My people are everywhere. We're like Indians. We'll be around. You don't know we're there, but we're there. And they keep using that line over and over again in the media. But when they start talking about the bag, he's not lying, by the way, because I was watching a video 2 days ago of the Trump video, and you see him bringing all of his friends in, and I'm sure they're flouting all the security rules. He's not lying when he says that. So again, like it's going to lead into the subway. There's a little bit here. What do you think about his Yankee security plan?
I love it. I think it's hysterical. They really are living something out of a movie. I see the Yankee security detail. The Yankee security detail was always pretty good. It's the Yankee detail. They do a great job. It's nothing new. I mean, they're used to this. I see the high volume of it working in the South Bronx. But of course, I agree with you. John Schell gets his family in. I mean, he's really enjoying. I have to say, he's enjoying the amenities of being the chief. A cop can't get a free cup of coffee, but he can let his family in. He can have people coming with bags. I mean, it's great to be the king, right? And look at Kaz Daughtry, man. He looks so excited. Honestly, you think he goes home and says, "Wow, she called me commissioner." He must go look in the mirror with his tie and go, "Oh my God, she called me commissioner." Must be a great feeling. Must be an opportunity for another challenge coin. But yeah, listen, I mean, again, it just shows how they abuse their authority like there's no tomorrow. If you're a cop and you're not letting your family in, you're not getting all these amenities. But when you're the chief of patrol and you're the deputy commissioner of operations, you get a lot of good amenities. It's good. It's good to be the king.
At Oliver says they're talking about subway surfing, and we're gonna get to it, and we're gonna talk. I'm not gonna address you. We're not gonna address your questions. We're gonna keep playing the video, but we'll get to it. At Oliver says that's a voluntary act. Talking about subway surfing, what can be done? ACJ says arrests haven't deterred the subway surfing. Some of these kids have been arrested and detained multiple times. We're gonna hone on all of that, but first I want to hear what the NYPD is doing about it before we talk about it. So we're gonna get to that. This video is 6 minutes, so we're about 2 minutes in. We'll keep going.
Okay, that's a good strategy.
I like that.
You know, when it comes to the World Series, it's been a while since we've had a game like this up in the Bronx. Like 2009, I guess, when they the last World Series game that they had in the Bronx. It's a different vibe than just a Yankees game. I mean, there's a lot of emotions involved. People are going to be really pissed off if they don't win this game tonight. I mean, is that something that the officers have to be aware of? That there's really going to be a lot of emotions from the fans tonight?
No, I think there's emotion. Anytime you have a World Series game, whether you're down 2-0, 2-2, there's going to be heavy emotion. The Yankees should, if they come up with a win tonight, change the whole series, obviously. But our cops stay neutral. We have a stadium detail up there that's there all year round. They know the fans very well. They know exactly what to do. And some added layers of security. We'll be fine.
And speaking of being neutral, last night was another big night in the city. We had the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden, which sort of unheard of to have a big political rally like that, especially at this time, so divisive. We know there was a little bit of clashing between some of the Trump supporters as well as protesters.
I thought there were no protests.
I mean, anything you could tell us about sort of what happened there? Any arrests that were made?
Been planning for that for a couple of weeks prior when we first was notified of the event. Yeah. I think the garden was sold out. They said it was like 20,000 people out there. Outside, there was 2 blocks that had about 7,000 people on 33rd Street. Another couple of hundred people on 32nd Street.
Were those protesters or people who wanted to get into the garden?
Just people that just wanted to get into the garden. It was first come, first serve. There was a jumbotron. There was people listening to the president and his speakers. We had 2 arrests, I believe. That was initiated.
2 arrests early in the day, but protesters were minimal. Maybe about 200 came during the event. But all told, the amount of people we had there, the security apparatus we had set up, was minor issues, if anything. And again, we just want to keep it safe and keep it moving. That was our goal yesterday.
Manhattan South came with it.
So you heard that, Eric, right?
Oh, how cute! How cute!
You heard what he said. What did he say that showed that he was completely lying when he did the Newsmax interview?
Oh my God! Oh, we just want to keep everybody safe. I love that. I love when he said at the Trump rally that, you know, there was nothing going on. There was no protesters. And now there was 7,000 people out there. They were all online just to get in. First come, first served. But then there was some clash that was going on. That was a couple blocks away. These guys lie about everything. Just lying right through their teeth. And I usually don't make fun of language. Listen, not everybody's the best speaker, but Ron Layson put this, it's hilarious. Did you catch what he said then? We was first notified. So just when you get a chance, you might want to look into the grammar for that.
Yeah. Hysterical. Yeah, he said there were no protesters at Newsmax. We haven't had one. Well, there was some. And now they're like, we had some protesters, It's hysterical. Juju said, Florida man says he doesn't watch the news. Juju, I pay a lot of bills in New York City, mainly taxes. I also pay a cable bill because I own a home there. So I do have access to New York news. I just choose not to watch it. The only time I watch it is if I'm on there, Eric's on there, or Sal Greco's on there. If we're not on there, I don't watch it. That's it.
You know what? I always say when people lie, everybody has a tell. And I know John Shell, he has his tell. So Juju, just want to let you know, when John Shell lies, his voice gets softer. His posture changes. Everything was good. We just want to keep everybody safe. Watch. Every time he lies, he gets softer and tries to calm it down that everybody's safe. Just a couple of protesters a couple blocks away. I wonder what that map looked like in that post analysis from that operation. There was no protesters. We know what they did. They're like, listen, you guys can protest. Just don't protest in front of here. Go down there, okay? Because we got an image to keep.
Chris Arnold says Rosanna's looking good these days. ACJ says Pichardo was deserving of promotion. I don't know. Did he do anything? How long did he last? Like a few months? I don't know. He's a smart guy. I mean, I used to enjoy his classes when he taught at Elite Strategic. I thought he was a very good presenter. I thought he was a good speaker. I thought he knew the patrol guide. I wouldn't say that he was deserving of a multi-bump, and I don't think he did anything to prove that he was deserving of it. He didn't even last. So yeah, I think whenever we do that, it's wrong. It's not. And again, we're talking popularity contest. We're not talking anything else at that point. It's conjecture at that point.
I think the same thing. Listen, no doubt about it. He was probably by far one of the presenters. Best presenters at Comstat. He was great. He pretty much put on a show. He was very good at Comstat, very charismatic, very intelligent guy. But again, I don't think there's any reason that we have to bump people up. It's almost like a kid skipping a grade. Why do we have to bump them up several ranks? Let him go through the process. Why not? It only makes him better, which makes the police department better. Having to bump someone up several ranks, if that really is the case, what that is saying is that you don't have anybody in your lineup that's worthy of anything. Why are those people there as chiefs then? If you have to bump this person up 2 or 3 ranks to supersede the other chiefs, well, to me, that says that there's a problem with the other chiefs in that department.
Yeah, no, but he 100%, dude. And it was the first. He was just the first. That was all they wanted. The first, I think it was the first Dominican chief of patrol. I think that's all they were going for. And he's a good speaker. It's like, oh wow, nice way to shit all over Dominicans. The guy. I thought he was a great speaker. Honestly, I could remember his class that he taught on court and summonses. I still remember him giving it. That's how good of a presenter he was. That was 10 years ago. It was like, and that's the most boring topic in the patrol guy. And I still remember him presenting it, like it vividly. So Rob Lukic says, copy and paste from previous details, nothing new, but they take credit for it. It's never getting credit to the members of the plan. He actually does give credit. And when I continue to play this, he actually does say the guys in Manhattan South, but he gives it to the chief, not to the person that we know has actually made the plans, which is a lieutenant and his team of sergeants and cops, right? And that you're right. It is a similar detail. Do they improve? Does it get better every year? Yes, it does. No thanks to them. 100%.
Crazy 10-7 coffee and a donut. Thank you to the podcast. $1.99. Shell says locker room status is great regarding morale.
We're gonna get to that. I think we're gonna have to bring that in because my phone's blowing up over here with this stuff. So I think we're gonna have to. Yeah. So okay,
this might be a long one.
Let's get through this video. Let's get through this. Let's get onto the subway surfing, and then we'll go to the next video.
A good security plan, and it worked flawlessly last night. No issues. So big thank you to the Manhattan South and the Borough Commander Jamie McCarthy for that plan.
While you're here, can we just ask you about Central Park? A woman attempted rape in Central Park. We know crime has taken a little spike in Central Park. What do we know about the person who did it? Any closer to finding him?
Well, we're not getting too much in details, respect for the victim, but with our Detective Bureau, our special victims on top of it, we saw that they have good video, and we expect a closure / arrest on this.
We have a general idea.
You know who this person is?
We have somebody that a person of interest, as they say.
It's a pretty clear picture right there when you look at it.
Do you think this person of interest is known to the police department?
If I was a betting man, I would say yes, Roseanne.
And also, big headline in the city this morning, such a terrible incident that happened with the subway surfing. Young girl who died. I mean, a lot of times you hear about it, whether it's a boy or a girl, it's a terrible situation. Had another incident last weekend. I mean, what is the NYPD able to do, if anything, to try and kind of prevent these things from happening?
Dan, good question. Terrible incident happened last night. I got the phone call around 11:30 when that incident happened. We're using technology. We're using drones. We catch a subway surfer probably about 3 or 4 a week. And we're not looking to put these, when we say we arrest them, we're not looking to arrest them. We give them a juvenile report. Yeah. But we bring their parents in and show them the video from the drones of them jumping between cars.
Because they're out in some of these spots. It's like in the Bronx where the trains are running outside, not necessarily under.
Williamsburg, the 7 line, the most prolific subway.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Listen, this is my point, right? I get it. It's a nice gesture. You want to speak to the parents, and there is a place for that when it comes to the police department. But the ultimate mission and the solution of the police department should not be to be a therapist, to sit there with the parents and have an intervention. That's going to be a part of the arrest. Not making the arrest is a problem. That is our mission. So, some people ask, well, it might not work anyway. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, that's not necessarily the police department's problem, right? So that's why it's important that we vote better. The police department's job, their mission, is to protect and serve and to carry out the law by making arrests. The cops should arrest these subway surfers, let them spend the night in jail, let them sit in the juvenile room handcuffed for hours, thinking about what they did, let them go through the system, let it play out. Now, what goes on in corporation counsel with juveniles, what goes on in actual criminal court, that is a dichotomy between actually making the arrest and what happens with prosecution, which is why we need to vote better so we get the right people in the district attorney's office, we get the right people in corporation counsel, and we also need the police department to give as much evidence as possible. And if they don't follow through with that, well, that doesn't mean the police department should say, hey, you know what, next time it happens, we shouldn't make the arrest because they're not going to prosecute anyway. That's your job. Keep arresting. Keep your finger on the pulse. And that's what it's going to take. That's what's going to take.
So, I found it funny, like when he talked about the drones, he's like, oh, we have the drones. Hey, like, what could you do to stop this? He's like, well, we have the drones. And then so everyone in their head is like, all right, well, what are the drones doing to stop this? Oh, we film the kids and then we bring it to their mother. So we're paying millions of dollars to film kids to subway surf to show the parents. And listen, I think that I like that they show that. I like that we have the technology to do that. And I like that they sit down to intervene with the parents. But, unfortunately, there are some parents that really just don't care. And there are some parents that do care, but parents need to be incentivized to care as well. I know that every time I had to go to probation when I was 11 years old, it wasn't a good day in my house, and I knew that if I got arrested again, I was going to have a big problem because my parents were inconvenienced, right? They had to take me to my probation officer. They had to, I would have to come do extra assignments on top of school. I think, it's, and I agree with, I think it was ACJ, I'm not sure the handle, where he says, we've arrested the kids multiple times and they continue to do it again. And I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to arrest them. Doing this is actually throwing your hands in the air and saying that there's nothing we could do. We're not going to arrest you anymore. We're just going to give you a juvenile report, because I do believe that, when we talk about broken windows or we talk about holding people accountable for their action, it goes much further than the arrest. It falls now onto the district attorney's office. It falls onto the youthful offender courts, falls onto family court. There has to be a process when we deal with the prosecution end of it that partakes in the same level of broken windows with us. We can't just continue to arrest people without holding the stakeholders accountable. And, the bottom line is this: if the kid was arrested and there were actually consequences faced, and if, you got arrested a second or a third time for doing this, we're going to step these things up. There's going to be penalties. There's going to be harsher and harsher penalties. It will 100% prevent people and children from doing it. It'll prevent parents from letting their children roam around in the middle of the night as well, because they won't want to let them do this, or out in the middle of the day. They won't want to let them do this. And that'll ultimately save life. And I'm not saying lock these kids up and throw them in jail and throw away the key. I'm not saying that at all. But there should be consequences. Maybe it's probation. Maybe at some point, if it's egregious enough, you are taking them. I mean, I'm going to say right now that this warrants a psychological evaluation right off the bat. Right off the bat, because this to me is hanging off the side of a building. My cousin, when we were kids, he used to hide and he would hang off the side of the building because he didn't want to go to school. That's how, and he was crazy. I mean, he didn't get a psychological evaluation, but he needed one. I think that there's things that we should do, but doing what he just explained right there, we're going to videotape kids on the subway, walking on top of subway cars. I showed you the picture. I had the pictures up. They're walking on top of subway cars as the train's moving, going through tunnels in New York City streets. And, we're just going to follow you with the drone, and then we're going to stop you, and we're going to bring you to parents, and we're going to show your parents the video. That is 100% not stopping anything.
Yeah, well, again, it's a nice gesture. It's supplemental. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think, you make the arrest. I think it's good for the police to get involved with the parents to build that rapport. That's community and police bonding that builds the relationship where the police get to know the kid, get to know the parents, and find out, hey, are the parents involved in this life? Are the parents aware? Do the parents actually know that the kids are out? Or are these particular parents that are not involved and don't have any knowledge? But as far as when it comes to prevention, we need adverse consequence to have a profound decision and profound response. And that is making arrests. It may sound ugly. It may sound simple. And that's the reality. We have to make these arrests. And that's why also it takes strong leadership that doesn't pander and have hearts with Alvin Bragg and DAs, saying the DAs support them, because obviously they don't. The DAs do not support you. You're trying to solve a problem by making these arrests. You're bringing these arrestees to court, and the DA's office is not holding them accountable. So we need Kaz Daughtry, who's the Deputy Commissioner of Operation, and John Schell, the Chief of Patrol, to actually say, not just call them stakeholders, say, listen, we're doing our job. We're making these arrests. And the DA's office are not holding them accountable. You have to go out there and vote for people that will make sure that they're held accountable. We are doing our job. We're making the arrest. Arrest has to be part of the plan. That's the bottom line. That's the law enforcement's mission. That's their main focus. This idea of being a therapeutic therapist and psychologist, it may be an additive for policing, but that's not the ultimate goal. That's not the mission of the police department. It's just a reality. You have to keep it simple. Sometimes keeping it simple and trying to add all this stuff, it gets convoluted, and we're really missing the mark here. And again, these are lab questions, absolutely. But of course, Kaz Daughtry has to interject. It seems a solution for everything when it comes to Kaz Daughtry's drones. So we have to ask ourselves, is it because he's getting some type of private contract kickback, or does he really believe that drones are the answer? Do I think it's a great idea to have technology as a supplemental, to have the drone there to film some kid out there acting stupid, and maybe you show it to him, look how stupid you are. Look at this overhang. You could get yourself killed. Sure, but they should still be arrested. And like you said, we're not going to throw away the key, but let them sit, like you said, John. You and I talk about it all the time. Spend the night in jail. Be inconvenienced. Be uncomfortable. Sit in a dirty cell. Lose some amenities in your life to say, you know what? Maybe I do have it good. Maybe what I did was stupid. I mean, we all did things. I did stupid stuff when I was a kid, So we all do stupid stuff, but we have to learn from it. And sometimes it takes the police department to arrest. I mean, John, I think the fact that you were arrested, that made you think about it. Even you were a kid, I'm not doing this again. It's the same thing.
100%. I say it all the time. I say it all the time. All the kids I hung out with, all the kids I'm like truly friends with, I'm still friends with to today. We've all been arrested, every single one of us. And I think it was the best lessons we ever got. And I said to them all, I was hanging out with them recently, and I said, could you imagine if when we got arrested, when we were kids, they let us out in 3-4 hours? I know what we would have been doing. We would have been cursing the cops out. We would have been making fun of them. We would have walked out. We would have went and do the same things we were doing. No, we didn't do that. You spend a weekend in jail. You're like, ooh, I got to get home. I got to brush my teeth. I got to take a shower. Oh, my God. I want to sleep in my own bed. I want to do what I want to do. I want to go to the store. I want to go eat something. I want to do this. Right? Like, I think a night in jail is, I've said it before, I think it's the greatest lesson in life. I think. What do you want to be? You want to be a gangster? You want to spend years of your life doing that, or do you want to be a productive member of society and never have to deal with people like that? It's like it's ridiculous. It's crazy. And Nighthawk says it here. He says sometimes being written a ticket or arrest can change a person's life for the better. Sounds crazy, but it's true. It's not crazy at all. I have a lot of friends who were recovering drug addicts as well. A couple of kids that I did grow up with got involved in using hardcore drugs, and unfortunately they spiraled for a long time in their life. But a lot of them say, like, a lot of them became very religious after, found Jesus after. And a lot of them talk about how they looked at being arrested as almost as if the cop was an angel sent from heaven who saved their life, because they know they would have died. And, I've been involved in situations myself where we've arrested people on like a 3-day crack bender. And they were like, literally, like, when they got arrested, one guy in particular was like, oh my God, thank God. Because he was like, he just wanted it to be over and he couldn't stop himself. So when the cops came to lock him up, he knew it was over. He knew he was done. He was like, oh, thank God. He was so happy to get arrested because he didn't even know it. Like he didn't know what he was doing. And Sherry Albaugh, she brings it up as well. She says, John speaks of the inconvenience of consequences. And that's what I'm saying here. It's like there is a multi-leveled approach there. So I like their first layer of approach is like, we're stopping the kids. We're documenting what they did. We're bringing it to the parents, but that should be in conjunction with other consequences. And that's what I'm saying. It's like we're missing the mark. This is what's wrong with this progressive state of policing. And they're flourishing in it. Like, and that's what we don't see. So when John Schell says our hands aren't tied, he's, maybe your hands aren't tied. Maybe you guys are just, you agree with the progressive model of policing. You don't agree with the broken windows models of policing. Maybe that's what it is, because here, there's nothing telling us that we can't arrest these kids and not make this a juvenile report. This is dangerous. This wastes city resources and endangers cops and endangers train conductors and endangers passengers. And these kids, I mean, my daughter has those same sneakers, the sneaker we just saw. And we could save people's lives by having consequences. And I think that's where we're missing the mark here. I think that's the biggest thing. We're not, the consequence should be harsh, and it should be harsh because it should be tough love. And instead we're like, everybody's just doing what they want. Let's just let them do what they want.
Well, I want to say thank you to J. $4.99 to the podcast. You got us a dozen donuts. Good morning, gentlemen. A lack of lawful juvenile accountability is a great stepping stone for an above the law adult disposition. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to hold kids accountable so that they become good men and women. And we can't let them get away with everything. If we let our children get away with everything, they're going to become irresponsible adults. Also, we got from Rob Luca, Baker's Dozen, coffee to donut. Thank you so much. $9.99 to the podcast. Gentlemen, donuts and coffee on me. We appreciate it. Juju, I use some of my retirement money. LOL. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody, for donating to the podcast. It's interesting that we talk about this subway stuff. And unfortunately, just to talk about stuff that is, it's an ugly thing to say, but it's the truth. If someone's also utilizing the subway for surfing, and God forbid they do get killed. I mean, we're also talking, it's sad to say this, but it's tragic. We want to save lives. But let's be honest. What does it also do? It hurts the city for millions of dollars. Because if that train has to stop and we have to set up a crime scene, the train stops, that costs the city millions of dollars. So it's an ugly thing to talk about, right? That's, because ultimately, number one is to preserve life, but also the tax expense, the burden on the city also. We're talking about millions of dollars every time a train stops. So there's a lot of facets to this. We have to make these arrests. Like I said, we're not going to throw away the key and put them in jail forever. But that is the core of policing. That's why we still have handcuffs on our belt. I think John actually have handcuffs on his belt too. But that's the core of policing. And these other aspects are contributing factors to make it better. Post follow-up with the parents, having these conversations, having the police involved. That's nothing new. John, that's been going on forever since the beginning of time. Police should be involved at talking to kids and talking to parents. And, for them to make like that's something amazing, that's nothing new. That's what police have done since the beginning of time. The drones, like I said, it's a great idea. Of course, you're filming it, but it's not the solution. And the solution is getting everyone on board. So, and I honestly, I would have more respect for them. I would have more respect for them. I don't agree with it, but I would have more respect if they just straight out said, listen, we don't agree with the broken window style of policing, and here's why we don't agree. I'm sure some people are in opposition. Here is going to be our approach. Now, if that approach does not work, we are willing to go back to the broken windows or another style similar to do what works. Now, these are open conversations, and that's what I talk about when opposition meets opportunity. When you have conversations like that, you're willing to do what it takes to go forward, and it's not about yourself. It's about the mission. It's about the best interest of the city. It's about the best interest of these kids to save their lives. Those are real conversations. That's not what we're hearing here.
Yeah. And Lone Silencer says, sadly, subway surfing is never going away, in my opinion. It has been happening since before we were born and will continue long after we're gone. I agree. And I don't think we're saying that you're going to stop anything. Just to say, I don't think that myself, Eric, I don't think anyone in this chat is saying that we're naive enough to believe that anything's ever going away. Illegal drug use, robbery, burglary, graffiti. I don't think we're naive enough to believe that at all. But what we're saying is we could deter it. We could not allow it to flourish. And when we're not doing anything, which is the broken windows theory of policing, these things flourish, right? Everything. Drug use, open drug use, robberies, burglaries, rapes, subway surfing. All of these things happen when there isn't a consequence for doing such. And Chris Arnold says it's ridiculously hard to identify and be able to stop subway surfers. By the time they stop the crowded chain, the suspects hide in the crowd. Facts. No argument here. But I'm not talking about those situations. And I'm not saying that they should be able to arrest and identify everyone. I'm talking about when they do arrest and identify everyone. Same's true for graffiti. Very hard to get these kids. They go in the dark at night. They dress in dark clothing. The biggest, the always way I made graffiti arrest or was easy to find graffiti people, I could smell it in the air. That's how I was able to identify. I was like, oh, you smell that? There's somebody on that train station. There's somebody up there. There's somebody down there, and then that's how I was able to, I didn't make a lot of graffiti arrests, but I did make a few. I'm not sitting here saying that we should waste all our resources either, but we are utilizing our resources. People are calling 911. It's easier today to identify subway surfers than it's ever been, using all the technology, the cameras, all this stuff. But I'm talking about when we actually have someone in custody. Like now we're just like, oh yeah, we got this guy. Let's whatever, just go, because it's it's the same thing when I talked about a few months back when my friend attends a community council meeting in Richmond Town, a very affluent area in Staten Island, and the cars are getting broken into every night. There's people going up to their front doors. They're keeping their keys in like RFID bags because traditionally people leave their car keys right by their front door. So what they would do is go up to the front door of the perps, and they would have like this RFID reader, which would be able to copy their car key and steal their cars. And it was happening like at a ginormous rate. And the police department, the 122 precinct commanding officer at the time, told a room filled of concerned citizens, we can't really arrest these guys that are breaking into cars and doing this because there's so many of them, and the DAs just let them out anyway. And so it's like it doesn't matter. We arrest them and more just keep coming. So there's nothing we could really do. And what's going on? It's still happening today, and if not worse,
Well, the same ideology that they have, right? This is why I just want to throw it back to them. So the ideology that Cass Daughtry is trying to put out is that social media is a tool to get out these videos of subway surfing, right? Which I agree, right? If you're out there doing subway surfing, especially with social media in the era that we live in, it's a great way to get these videos out. These kids, I'm sure they get clout, they get likes, and that's what's important to them. But what is social media also? It's a vehicle to have communication, right? So if you're out there making arrests, well, guess what? The last kid that got arrested is going to go on social media saying, hey, if you're out there subway surfing, the police department catches you, you're going to get arrested. So the social media is the vehicle for that. So I don't think we should be shutting their social media accounts down. So I agree. We have to work smarter, not harder, especially with a diminished police department. Crime is up. We need to work smarter, not harder. I don't think, if I was in a position of leadership in the police department, we're not going to put resources to do investigations to find these people. We would actually have to find them in real time. If coincidentally someone is subway surfing and we find them in real time, we'll make that arrest. And then we'll have the intervention with the family. And then, then on social media, these kids will talk. Hey, I was out there subway surfing and I got arrested. I spent the night in jail. I got probation. Whatever the case, they'll talk about it on social media. That may be the deterrent right there. Do I think we should go out and start investigating and have wanted photos and have the detective squad involved to find out who these subway surfers are? Absolutely not. It's not worth it. So you got to work smarter, not harder. Is it even worth it to actually start looking at drone video to find out who they are and identify them? No, I don't even think it's worth it to that point either. So we have to work smarter, not harder. But that's kind of tough for these two.
Yeah, Ya's favorite son comes on here. He says, white guys advocating for people to go to jail for what walking through the subways. This is why this country would never be together. We see things differently. We're talking about young children riding on top of subway cars. We just lost a young person of color, by the way, lost his life at 13 years old. And we didn't say one thing that he should go to jail. We said there should be consequences for his actions, and we should try to deter this to save people's lives. We don't care what color they are. So the reason that we will never be together is because there are dumb, ignorant people like yourself who only see color and can't actually vocalize ideas. So yeah, I mean, that's probably why we won't be together. And Torian Williams, voice of reason comes true, common sense. Without the consequences for your action, it will be the Wild West. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. Hassan says the drone idea is great for subways realistically. If they get the same speed, at the train, at least they need facial recognition technology to get these kids to use social media to blast out to their school. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know that we should. And I agree with Eric. I don't think that we should be wasting resources, but I think at the same time, we haven't. Like, if we're talking public safety, this plays a role because someone said it on here earlier too. If we're not stopping and deterring criminal and crazy behavior at youth level, what are these people going to be when they're adults, if they even make it to adult? So, yeah, I think we need to restore consequence for action, 100%. We got another video coming. I just got to grab it. Eric, what do you think to wrap up the subway surfing?
Well, I just want to say I want to comment and piggyback on that response you got from what was his name? Something. Talked about basically a race issue. I don't agree with that at all, what he's saying. All the white guys want them to go to jail. That's absolutely silly. If anything, the white guys care more about them than the black community because these are black kids that were affected by it. Sometimes you have to be tough on people so it doesn't happen. And how do you be tough on them? You arrest them. You put handcuffs on them. You put them in a cell. You put them in a juvenile room handcuffed. You make them wait and anticipate when their parents are coming. You have to make them uncomfortable to be comfortable in life. Making them uncomfortable one day could save their lives forever. So this is absolutely ridiculous ideology. If we just, this idea, again, I think we're really missing the mark in this this culture that we have right now, that we have to be nice to everybody. If we're going to be super nice to these kids, then how are they going to understand any consequences? So it's tough love. You have to be tough. I'm not saying abuse them. Absolutely not. I'm not saying you hit them. But you make them uncomfortable. And if you make them uncomfortable, you make them comfortable in their life. And you may be saving their lives. It's the same thing when it comes to cops. I tell cops, you need to get out there and train. Do jiu-jitsu, box, wrestle, hit the gym. You got, eat healthy, take care of yourself. Why? Because if you're out there training and you lose when you're training, if you're boxing and you lose, well, guess what? You lose in the gym so that you win out in the streets. So it's the same ideology. If you're tough on these kids, you may save their lives forever. And this ideology that we have to be easy on them and be nice to them and coddle them, that doesn't affect. And we end up with a society that we have right now. What do we have? We have a society, majority of kids right now just don't understand consequence. They don't have any testosterone. They're not acting as seeing themselves as being men. And we have babies growing up and continue to be small children. We have to be tough on them. We have to be.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So we got 431 people in the live chat. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this morning. If you could do us a favor, like, subscribe. If you're on social media, if you could like the post, share it out. We appreciate it. Get some more people in here. So we're going to switch. We just talked about the NYPD's lack of response to subway surfing, how we not only believe that it won't help to deter it, it'll actually help to flourish subway surfing. So we think it's a poor, progressive, hands-off style of policing response that's being presented by Kaz Daughtry and John Schell in the New York City Police Department. And it's the exact wrong response for basically every major crime and every minor crime in New York City, and it will only help to continue New York City on the path that it's on. We'll get into crime maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Crime numbers have came out from White Collar Fraud. He's done the breakdown of the last week. You're going to see crimes continuing to rise. I don't know if we'll get to it, if we won't. Maybe if not, we'll bring that to you tomorrow. But think we need to get into this special right now. This is the talk of the town this morning. I think every cop, everybody involved in public safety is talking about this interview right now. This is involving Tom Donlin, Tariq Shepard. I still don't know what title he is. He's the chief of staff. He's sometimes acting deputy commissioner of public information. He's once again a uniformed member of the service, and now in the rank of 3-star chief. Kaz Daughtry and John Schell. So let's start to play it. Let's listen to the first portion is Tom Donlin's solo interview, and then we'll give an analysis of his interview.
11 special NYPD on the record with Interim Police Commissioner Tom Donlin and the agency's top brass.
Thank you for joining us for this Pix 11 special, NYPD on the record. I'm Nicole Johnson. After a major shakeup and talks about more changes to come, we go in depth with NYPD brass. But first, an exclusive sit-down interview with Interim Police Commissioner Tom Donlin to get a sense of his focus and his mission.
I do hereby pledge and declare. Hereby pledge and declare.
He was sworn in amid scandal. Former top cop Edward Caban out. Tom Donlin in, but just a week into his tenure, the feds came knocking. Commissioner, let's get right to it. You are the subject of a federal investigation and you run the largest police department in the country. How are you managing both? Are you distracted?
Number one, I'm not distracted. My case, I have hired outside counsel, and I'm at liberty to speak about the investigation, but I'm fully confident that things will, definitely work out in my favor. But it doesn't distract me from my daily routine as a police commissioner. I stay focused on what I need to do.
Talk about your workflow. When you're down there at One Police Plaza, what type of commissioner are you? Are you hands-on or hands-off?
I've always been hands-on. Prior law enforcement experience with the New York State, Homeland Security, the FBI. I worked in the task force for many years in the corporate world. I'm hands-on. I don't, the word they use, micromanage. I don't micromanage, but I need to know what, is taking place, how investigations are being handled. And the reason for that is that, I have a wealth of experience and knowledge that I can provide to the investigators or the bosses. I'm not always right about things, but it gives them an opportunity to, for me to exchange my experiences with them. And I think that helps quite a bit. And it's a two-way street.
You've been.
So what do you think about that?
So it's quite interesting, right? So I don't agree with the style of leadership in micromanagement when there's a well-oiled machine and a properly functioning system and organization. But Tom Donlin, you were brought in as the interim police commissioner. You were asked by prosecutors, and you were there to micromanage the upper echelon of the police department and arguably, possibly make a complete overhaul because you're there amid scandal. So this is just ridiculous what he's saying. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's a complete epic fail on his part, and just really exposed that he's just a complete simp right now to the police department. And he actually is the most insignificant police commissioner, even more than Ed Caban. You were brought there mid-scandal. There's appearance of impropriety. There's a corruption probe going on right now. You are also part of that probe. And to say that that doesn't distract you, of course, any problems in management, absolutely does. From the information that we're getting from credible sources is that he doesn't have intelligence access that he's supposed to have and security clearance as the police commissioner. So that's a problem right there. And the fact that he said he's not going to micromanage, that's absolutely ridiculous. This whole organization right now needs to be micromanaged. That's why you're there. You're not there to take care of operations at this point. You are the interim police commissioner to get it to the point that we could get someone in there to get back and focused to operations. I want to say thank you so much. Vias Fitores. We'll get another Baker's dozen over here, coffee and a donut. Kaz couldn't tell a wrist lock from a wristwatch. I like that. The transit debacle is just another sad chapter in the modern NYPD. A bit off topic, but Eric, what's your favorite era of military history and why? Oh, that's I don't want to get totally off topic, but I will get into that. And my favorite portion of history is the Barbary Pirates, and you see when the Marines were fighting with the pirates in Africa. You just, if you get an opportunity to read about history, that it was amazing leadership, and it's the same leadership that was applied back then that we need right now. So if anybody has an opportunity to read about the Barbary Pirates, and you see some of the leadership, and you see young men that had to take over and lead that of low ranks because leadership was taught amongst all ranks, very interesting. John, what do you think?
I think he's horrific. I think honestly he should be removed immediately. We had a corruption scandal involving the entire upper echelon of the NYPD recently break out, where it's alleged that they were running a protection extortion racket. It's being alleged that they were using migrant cards to go out to restaurants and fancy dinners and clubs. The ones that people get $10,000 on, like them and their friends were using it. It's also alleged that it's a fact that the police commissioner's brother had a security detail and a department vehicle, taxpayer funded, that everyone's aware of. So that's a fact. That's blatant corruption right there. And as he's running his so-called consulting business, it's also being alleged that numerous individuals associated with high-ranking members of the police department have been dipping into the Cralo program in the NYPD, meaning that taxpayer-funded rentals with insurance and registration have been given out to people who are not members of the New York City Police Department under this administration. It's also been rumored that numerous contracts from this department were going to members of their family and friends and donors of Eric Adams. It's rumored that they were involved in games around the Adams election, around his campaign funds, around votes. I think you have a systemic problem in here. You have a systemic problem of corruption, and at least the allegation of it. So if you were brought in to a well-oiled machine, I could maybe sit here and say, okay, sitting back, he's getting a feel for things before he makes a change. He wants to feel out and learn the department. He doesn't know the department. The department's massive. We knocked bringing Keechant Sewell in there, and it's the same thing with Tom Donilon. There's a learning curve. There's a learning curve when you come into the NYPD. It's not like any other organization. It's not like any other organization. I don't care where you worked. I don't care if you worked in the military. I don't care where it is. It's a completely different dynamic. It's a huge organization. It's run its own complete way. There's going to be a learning curve if you're coming from the outside. I could sit there and say, you know what? Let's give him the learning curve. Let's give him a month or two. Let's see, he could feel everything out. But that's not what he walked into. He walked into a police department where crime's on the rise. He walked into a police department where morale's at an all-time low and people are leaving at a rate we've never seen in history. And I'm not even talking about people that are retirement eligible. I'm talking about retirement eligible and non-retirement eligible, not even vested eligible. We're seeing people leave left and right that we've never seen before. So you have a mass exodus police, you have morale's a problem, you have crime rising, and you have an extortion, or you have a huge corruption scandal that just broke out. For him to come in and sit back like nothing's going on and nothing needs to be done, it just shows he's a complete puppet. He can't be trusted. And not only he's been put there to be to basically just be a face and allow whatever was going on is still currently going on. Maybe it's slowed down for a little bit, but there's a lot of things going on. There's basically everyone under him, his whole helm, his chief of staff, the chief of patrol, Kaz Daughtry, and a few other people are all ensnared in this corruption scandal, all had their phones removed supposedly, and he hasn't made one change. He doesn't see anything wrong. It reminded me, like that statement reminded me of the Kamala Harris interview when she goes on The View. She goes on The View and they ask her, a lot of people unhappy with the direction of the country with Joe Biden. What would you do differently than Joe Biden? Nothing comes to mind. And that's basically Tom Donilon. Tom Donilon is the Kamala Harris of the NYPD.
So that was my point. So, we talked about this in prior episodes. I expected operations to take a seat back and actually take a hit for a while, and it was understandable. he was not brought in there for the operational side of things. He's there as an interim police commissioner. Honestly, I don't even think it matters if he even learns about and has a learning curve and learns about the operations of the police department. That's why we need effective leadership in the police department, so that he can be there as the interim police commissioner to micromanage the chiefs right now and to determine if we need an overhaul, if they're there, if there's a level of corruption going on. He's there to micromanage them right now so we can get it to the point that it can be an operational machine, in which it was, to bring it back to the most iconic police department. He's there pretty much as a babysitter and as a watchdog. And clearly he doesn't understand that, or his direction from Eric Adams was complete bamboozled us all. And that's really what's going on. We were all bamboozled to believe that Tom Donlin's coming in there as the interim police commissioner to clean house, to make sure that there's no corruption, to make sure that there's an overhaul and that we put the right leadership in there. Absolutely not. So do we need him to worry about operations? No, he's the interim police commissioner. He's on his way out the door. This is just, he just sold a bag of goods. So he's not as stupid as people want to believe. He's a lot smarter. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's playing the game, and he's enjoying it. Listen, he's the police commissioner. He's getting a handsome salary, and for him to say that he needs to allow things to run its course, that's a huge problem. You're there because there's a huge scandal going on right now, because there's the appearance of impropriety. You're there to fix it so that we can put someone in there and that the operation can the operation can move smoothly. Just that's an outright lie. He's part of the gaslighting administration. Again, just he fits right into this same cloth.
Yeah, breaking up a little bit, Eric, over here.
No, as I said, same cloth as this administration. Just ridiculous.
Ron Layson says, I was brought into several assignments to make changes. You need to do an assessment before you make changes. Some are obvious, some aren't. They have to be informed decisions. Agree 100%. But the problem is again, were you brought into a situation like this? Were you brought in to say, listen, this whole entire unit is being probed by the FBI for corruption, and supposedly they were all involved in this in a racketeering extortion ring? And I'm going to say, no, you weren't, because if you were, I know what you would do, and you would remove all of those people from your unit, because that's what needs to be done. And that's what needs to be done. I don't care if it's in the top or the bottom. And not only is he not removing them, he's literally learning the aspect of the job from them and taking advice with them. And he says it in this interview. He tells you in this interview that he's basically learning from them first before he's going to make the changes and make his decisions. So I get what you're saying. Problems in operational, problems in workflow, problems in wherever it lies, problems with motivating, problems with leadership, problems with dealing with the community, with answering jobs, with taking care of equipment, personnel issues. This is totally different. This is totally different, I think, there's no way I step into this assignment. There is no, if you step into this assignment and say, oh, I can't change anybody, I'm not going to change anybody up top. So, all right, so the police commissioner and his brother were operating this consulting firm. The entirety of all of my operational control were focused around running this consulting firm, this illegal, corrupt consulting firm, which was basically extorting businesses across New York City. And then whoever didn't pay up, we strong-armed them using police resources like we were the Colombo crime family. And now you want me to sit in there and speak to these same people. And I got news for you. Not only am I getting rid of them, I'm getting rid of their entire staff. Because I don't know who was brought in. I would do analysis, background on everyone, and I would bring people in who I trust. Tom Donlin's very familiar with a lot of people in the department, and he has the ability to do that. But if you're like, oh, no, John, come in here, and I need you to fix all these things, and you can't make any moves, and I need you to sit there and learn it for over a month, and they're going to teach you this. The same guys that were helping all this happen. Oh, the same guys that are under a federal investigation also. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm being set up for failure. I'm good. I'm not going along in that game. I'm good. You could keep your salary. You could keep your title. You could keep your challenge coin. I'm good.
Driver's seat, more coffee and donuts, $9.99 to the podcast. Thank you so much. This is interesting. It says, guys, I voted yesterday at Brooklyn polling station. Do you know they did not ask me or anyone else for ID? I waited until I cast my vote to ask the volunteers why they did not ask for ID. You know, John and I spoke about this for a long time. We spoke about this several times on different X spaces. If anyone ever has an opportunity to get involved in some of these X spaces, it's basically a virtual town hall. We talked about that a lot. You know, of what different systems could be put in place to have a better, to have a more trusting voting system in New York. And one of them is having proper ID, which is quite interesting, right? When it comes to Kamala Harris, her running VP, Waltz, allowed in his state to issue illegal aliens licenses, documents. So based on those IDs, they could vote. So there's a huge problem going on with the voting system right now. It's interesting that you just saw that. So we definitely need an overhaul in New York and other states and how we do voting to make sure it's proper and it's not fraudulent. So I definitely agree with you. You know, I don't want to get totally off topic, but that's a good point to bring out. And especially when it comes to this, we need to vote people. Now, when it comes to Ron Lason's statement, I agree. When you're in a position of leadership, it's important to make changes. Absolutely. Changes that would be necessary. You have to understand operations. Maybe you have to take a seat back, watch how things play out. Not too long. At some point, you have to put your finger on it. But again, I think this is a complete different case here. I think there's a complete dichotomy. When it comes to Tom Donlin, he was strictly, at least we were believed, and he should be, put there as an interim police commissioner to clean house, to make sure that we have the proper leadership and that it's clean and free from corruption so that someone can take over and run with the operations. So he's not there to learn the operations. I don't think it even matters if he learns about overtime, how overtime works, and learns about training. He's there strictly to clean house, make sure we have proper leadership, and make sure that there is morale so that the rank and file can do their job. That is it. He should be there, exactly that. Interim, just there for a short period of time, clean house, decide who is good leadership, or if everyone needs to go. If I was a police commissioner, the entire chiefs, they would be gone. They're all compromised. And we would start over, and we would get the right leadership in. So, again, he's not in charge of operations. He's supposed to clean house, and obviously he's not doing that. He's not doing his job. This is an epic fail. And it's an epic fail on Eric Adams and the administration. I saw someone made a comment here, rooting for Eddie Caban. Listen, he hasn't been found guilty yet, but the appearance of impropriety is there. He resigned. Okay, so the fact that he resigned is an indication that something's going on. And the house needs to be cleaned. The house needs to be, and Tom Donlin is not it.
Yeah. Pat Donahue says, any truth to the rumors that a certain recently retired executive have access to being chauffeured by a former member of their security detail? Wouldn't shock me. And on the rooting for Eddie Caban thing, so here's my take on the Eddie Caban thing, right? I'm not a fan of Eddie Caban. I personally think he sent his criminal associate, cokehead buddy, to threaten my life. So I'm not a big fan of Eddie Caban at all. I'm not a fan of anyone in this administration whatsoever, for personal reasons. However, when I take myself out of the situation and I look at it, I say, why did Eddie Caban have to step down for being under investigation? One investigation for this corruption probe, but Eric Adams, who's under 5 federal corruption probes, is actually indicted in one of them, doesn't. And then why did Eddie Caban have to step down? And the rest of the NYPD executive leadership, who's under and being currently and actively investigated for that same federal corruption probe, why don't they have to step down? So I see the hypocrisy in it all. And if Eddie Caban's innocent, I hope that comes out that he's innocent. And I hope that's, I'm not looking for, just because I don't like the guy and I have a feeling about what happened and why his friends were threatening me, and why his police department was coming after myself in this podcast, and why they continue to attempt to get this podcast shut down. I'll keep my personal opinions on that aside. I do think that they shouldn't have been in leadership. I don't think Ed Caban should have ever been the police commissioner. I think the hypocrisy was there. But if he's innocent, I hope he's found innocent. But from everything I'm seeing, I'm I'll be shocked if more doesn't come out about this entire administration, Eric Adams and Eddie Caban. So, but I see the hypocrisy in him stepping down and the rest of them not. There's no reason that he shouldn't still be sitting there if the rest of them are. If Eric Adams is still there and the police department's still there, they should all be sitting there. But yeah, does he probably get chauffeured around still by his members of the security detail? 100% I'm thinking that's going on. This is Eric Adams. This is crumbs. They're not nothing makes sense. They don't mind using taxpayer money, you know. So let's continue with this interview. This is a pretty long interview.
Interim police commissioner for a little more than a month now.
Right.
Talk about any learning lessons. What's your assessment of the department?
I've always been a big fan of the NYPD. My father worked for the police department. He was a carpenter for the NYPD, and he's an immigrant along with my mother. And my father, when he was with the carpenters department at PD, he used to take me to the various precincts throughout the 5 boroughs. And I remember him telling me that I want you to meet good people, nice people. I want you to, engage with them, and they'll, they lead by example. And that's what attracted me to law enforcement in many ways. And a lot of those people became mentors of mine.
Anything you think the department could change at this point?
Well, it's too early to say right now. I'm speaking with the chief of the department and all the different chiefs to understand the programs. And, it wouldn't make sense for anyone to come in and change something without fully understanding.
Commissioner, I've covered crime in this city for many years. I cover the NYPD and justices in the city. And I'm listening to New Yorkers out there, and they're really concerned about crime.
Right.
The numbers are one thing, perception is another, and folks are really talking about transit crime.
One thing about transit crime has gone down in the subway system, and that's due to Chief Kemper and the other chiefs that supported them, throughout the last few years. And of course, the mayor, his big issue is public safety, and he's focused on the criminal activity in the subway system, transit system. You have the big investigations, whether it's the Migrant or terrorism investigations, but I think it's the quality of life issues that affect the public on a daily basis. And they voice their opinions to me, and I take it seriously, and I think that's important that we try to address that.
What do you want them to know as far as their public safety?
We're trying to help them and assist them, and as I mentioned before, I like to meet with the public and ask them their opinion, and I think that gives them a sense of security and safety, that they know that that myself as a police commissioner, we're aware of your needs and any issues you may have.
Commissioner, you're from the Bronx. We
Right.
were talking earlier.
Right.
Born and raised in the Bronx. Talk a little bit about your upbringing in that borough.
Well, as I mentioned, both my parents are immigrants. I come from a family of 4 brothers and 2 sisters. 2 of my brothers were with the fire department. They both retired recently, and my mother was a nurse, and my 2 sisters were nurses. So we have, service-minded positions where that was always expressed by my mother and father. You have to, give back in many ways. And I still go back to the old neighborhood sometimes.
How often do you get back there?
I go back there once every few weeks. There's still a number of people that still live there, folks that I knew from my early days, and it's nice to go back and meet with them and just reminisce.
Very important to engage with the community.
Right.
You have a vast executive team.
Right.
Do they lean on you or do you lean on them?
It goes both ways. I rely on their experience and knowledge, and I don't operate in a vacuum. I like to hear people's opinions. What direction do we need to take an investigation or handle a personal matter? So, and I take pride in the fact that I don't have quick reaction to whether it's criminal, terrorism, or personal matters, that it's fully discussed among the team. And that's how I grew up in the law enforcement, being on the terrorist task force. It was always about the team, working together, and you just can't operate by yourself. You have to rely on folks that have the knowledge that can help you to be a a better police commissioner in my world. But it's very, very important.
When we
So first of all, this is more of a layup interview than it was with Rosanna Scotto, Cass Daughtry, and John Schell. This is a complete layup interview. She could have easily said, tell us about the gun detection scanners and transit system that was an epic fail. Tell us about the robots that was an epic fail. She just asked him what's going on with crime there. And here, he's part of the gaslighting administration, just completely lied to the public that crime is down in the subways. Absolutely complete lie. Just look at Sam Antar's numbers. That's a lie to the public. Again, he's saying that he's leaning on them, and they're leaning on him. You're not there for operations. You're the interim police commissioner to clean house and to get it to the point that it could be the operational machine that it's supposed to be. I think this is, again, he's a complete simp. He's the most insignificant police commissioner. The fact that you're there because of a corruption probe to find out how to clean house, what needs to be done, just an outright lie that he's talking about how he needs to worry about operations. And it's so generic. You know, Michael Kemper took care of crime and the mayor's plans of quality of life. Very generic, layup interview, epic fail.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a hard-hitting interview at all. He says that subway crime's down. Subway crime was up 40% in January. I believe it's down 7% year to date now. But overall, when we go back to 2019, when we go back to Eric Adams' appointment, again, transit crime overall is up. So, I mean, so he's pulling the whole same crime is down narrative. I lean on them, they lean on me. It works both ways. Blah 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 blah. I think huge epic fail. This administration can't leave quick enough. I can't wait for the election to be over because honestly, Eric Adams has to be removed. The entire upper echelon of the NYPD has to be removed. This is a major fail in public safety right here. What's going on? This is it's really bad. I can't believe we're the only people saying this. I can't believe it. I can't believe Eric Adams hasn't been removed. I can't believe the entirety of this upper echelon of the NYPD still on the news, still out there gaslighting the public, still in these very high-charged, high-powered situations. Let's go further into this interview. This is where I think you're going to, I think this is where people are really going to be shocked.
Before you go into, I just want to say at Oliver91, absolutely nailed it. He's learned the script. Absolutely. He's following tone of line. Even if you catch what he said, he's also virtual signaling about the illegal alien crisis because he said twice. He said, my father was an immigrant. He mentioned again his parents are immigrants. And that's complete virtual signaling for what's going on with the illegal military age males. He's absolutely toeing the line. He's learned the script, and he's regurgitating the script. At Oliver91, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Within the NYPD, how are you handling it?
Our candid conversation continues with the interim police commissioner and the department's leadership team, including acting chief of staff and deputy commissioner of public information Tariq Shepard, and nothing is off the table.
Invest.
Wait, did you catch that? Hold on, we got a little commercial break, but did you catch what she just said?
Yeah, he's the chief of staff, deputy commissioner of public information. So he's wearing both hats?
Yeah. But he's doing it as a uniform. Convenient. Very convenient.
You noticed that, right? And I love that. Nothing's off the table. Like, this is a hard interview. Come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely ridiculous.
That's a tough question. Right. Hey, how's crime in the subway? That's a tough question.
Yeah. How's crime overall? Hey, here we go. Well, here's a tough question, and you're not going to hear any significant answer for it. You ready for this? Here we go. Hold your horses, people. Here it is.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Chief of Patrol John Schell, Deputy Commissioner of Public Information Tariq Shepard, Deputy Commissioner of Operations Cass Daughtry, and Interim Police Commissioner Tom Donlin. Thank you so much. We have lots of questions to get to. The first one I want to get off is there's allegations of corruption within the NYPD. You can't crime fight and deal with allegations without being distracted. At least that's what some New Yorkers believe. How are you handling it?
These are friends of ours, colleagues, but there's no time out. There's no days off. The city moves 365 days a year. And if you look at the last couple months, we haven't missed a beat.
Shepard?
Before we even go to Shepard's answer to that, what do you think about Shell's?
I'm sorry. You know what, John Shell? I don't want you to retire. Please stay.
Same.
Stay where you are. You know what, John? Juju, if you are, I love you, brother. You make me laugh. You know what, John Shell, he's the guy, honestly, he can be stuck in a tornado. We can see him here report. Everything's fine. It's beautiful out here. Get your beach chairs. No problem. John Shell is awesome, man. It doesn't matter. The whole police department's going down for corruption, but everything's fine. You know, John, what was that funny video where the guy's talking? It's just like people running past him. Is that everything's okay? That's John Shell. Thank you, John. Please don't go anywhere. Don't retire. Don't.
Yeah. No, it's insane. So he completely ignores the corruption scandal. He completely ignores his involvement in it. It's colleagues of ours, but we haven't missed a beat. Crime's down. We're doing a great job. Lied. I'm gonna get the clip. I'm gonna bring that audio in here. I'll have it for tomorrow. Every time he lies, I'm gonna play it. I lied. Because it's ridiculous. So here's Shepard's take on the corruption. You ready?
As the chief said, we have a lot of work to do. New Yorkers deserve for us to be at our best. So that we don't have time to be distracted. This is what we do, whether it's emergencies that happen in the city or it's an investigation that's ongoing right now. We deal with all of those events, but still are able to keep New York City safe.
Talk about morale.
Wait.
Stop. So this is normal. You know, when you have a corruption probe, you just ignore it, right? Because this is normal. The police department normally goes to corruption probes, and we just keep going out there doing our job. Don't worry about it. Don't pay attention to what's going on over there. This is the most ridiculous statements. I mean, Shepard, you don't go anywhere either. Uniform civilian, stay right where you are. This podcast, we love you, brother. That's amazing. Oh, yeah, don't go any. Oh, everything's fine. So this is normal to have a corruption probe and supposed to pretend like it's not happening? Of course you're distracted. Oh, but that's okay. Those private contracts you hear about in crumbs, don't worry about it. Don't pay attention to those. That's not important. You know, potential racketeering, that's not important. Don't pay attention to that. Potential human trafficking at Consafritos, don't pay attention to that. Criminal association, don't pay attention to that. That's okay. It's all fine because we're holding down crime. And we're also lying about crime numbers. Any stuff you saw about Columbia University, the admitted information, don't worry about that either. Everything's great. Who's next? Kaz, what do you got?
Yeah, well, no, all he's saying is that this is, don't worry about that we were stealing. Don't worry about we were shaking down businesses. Don't worry that we're lying to you every day about crime numbers. Don't worry about anything. We got to get these 911 calls respond. Somebody's got to do it. It could only be us. Right? It could only be us. So don't worry about all those scandals that are coming out. Don't worry we were bundling money for the mayor. Don't worry that we were potentially messing around with mail-in ballots. Don't worry that we were chauffeuring around the criminals in a protection extortion racket. Don't worry about any of this. Don't worry about that we were all misusing funds. Don't worry we were all misusing police resources. Somebody's got to answer those 911 calls. It's got to be us. It's got to be us four sitting here. And then she skips, notably, the corruption question from Kaz Daughtry and Tom Donlin, and she moves right to morale. Why do you think? First of all, I think that this interview is highly edited because I don't even think that was John Shell's full response. I feel like he was already talking. And like that started. I could be wrong about that, but that's the way it appears to me. It appears he was talking prior. It appears that this interview was edited. Why is the question not for Kaz Daughtry and Tom Donlin there?
Maybe they don't have phones. Maybe because their phones were taken. Could be. Hey, since your phone was removed and you're part of the corruption probe, does that distract you? No. Oh, and by the way, John, that was completely edited.
Right?
I know.
Is it me? Like that sounded like John Shell was talking already, and it was like him in his cadence already.
It was so choppy. Yeah. And we know his cadence by now.
Yeah. So. All right, so now she brings up morale. Let's talk about morale. Let's hear this. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
You talk about the officers. How's morale when they're seeing so much change happening?
The morale is very good. You know, the cops every day put on their gun belt. Our detectives go out every day, and they do their job. And the locker room, if you will, is in a good place. The unions are happy with what we are doing. So morale is good. We're going to close out this year very well. And the cops are carrying the city. Our detectives are carrying the city.
How old is John Shell?
I have no idea.
I hope he stays. John, please stay to 63.
I think he's young. I think he's young. I don't think he's as old as he looks. I think he's young.
I hope he stays till 63. I love it. The morale is good. They put on their gun belts. Well, got no choice to put on their gun belts. Right now, with the way the streets are, they probably need like 6 guns on them. What are you talking about? And the locker room.
So just one question, Chief. Just one question for you, Chief. Why are people leaving at a rate we've never seen prior to the 20 years? Is it social media? Is it because of this podcast? Like, what is the reasoning that people are retiring early at a rate we've never seen before? And some people aren't even eligible and they're leaving. Why is there an exodus in your department? And then he goes into, well, the unions are happy with us. The unions,
yeah,
of course, the unions are happy.
Know that.
The unions are happy with Kathy Hochul too. The unions work for you and Kathy Hochul and New York City Council. They're afraid to even put out an endorsement for the president of the United States when I was miscorrected because I believe it was 94% of detectives voted in favor of supporting Donald Trump. 95% of the members voted in favor of supporting Donald Trump, but the unions don't want the DEA to put it out. The DEA doesn't want to put it out because they don't want to make the other unions mad. And basically, nobody wants to piss off Kathy Hochul or City Council because they're working on pension reforms. I mean, the unions, it's a joke. John Shell just flat out sat here and lied completely. The only people that have high morale are the people in CRT, and not even all of them. A lot of them, John, don't even like you either or your administration. So just so you guys know, you have people very close to all of you that aren't happy with you guys. They can't wait for you guys to get out of there. So no, morale is in the dumps. It's worse than it's ever been. The morale, cops would be very happy to have the same morale that they had on the Bill de Blasio at this point. That's how bad it is right now. Again, this is a dude that you had to applaud him for over a year. Every time he walked into the office, you have to give him a standing ovation. For what? I have no idea, but you have to give him a standing ovation.
John, I want to give him an ovation because he really does provide a lot of content to the podcast. So, John Shell, you are the content of the month. I'm sure I'm looking for Juju to see if he made a comment based on but I speak to John, I'm going to keep them anonymous, of course. I speak to cops on a constant basis, and what you said is absolutely accurate. I speak to cops and I speak to some supervisors from the khaki pants unit, and they don't like what they see, but they're the ones that get the amenities, so they're not leaving. But they don't like what's going on there at all. And I'll keep them anonymous. There's plenty. Not the entire khaki pants unit loves you. A lot of them pretend to love you because it benefits them. So do they really love you? I'm sure some of them do, but the majority of them, they see through the BS. And again, according to John Shell, everything's great. Of course they have a gun belt. I mean, this is the most ridiculous statement. But listen, I appreciate the content. But again, they don't answer the questions. They completely deflect from it. And that's what they do. They just constantly lie to you. I'm sure the cops that we dealt with on social media that work in Kaz Daughtry's office and they work for the chief of department and they work for the chief of patrol's office, I'm sure they're happy. They don't have to put a gun belt on, maybe for overtime, but that's about it. Yeah. Let's get to the next contestant here.
Yeah, Blake Fields asks, how do I get in contact with you guys for interviews? Just hit us up, www.thefinestunfiltered.com. So you can send us a message there. Let's go. Let's see who else wants to go around about morale.
And they're doing a great job. So morale's in a good place, and we're preparing for 2025.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that, John, that I lead a lot of these operations throughout the city, and I get to speak to the officers every single day when I'm out there. out there last night, the night before, going out there again. And to them, it's business as usual. I don't even think that they even know like really what's going on, and as far as these the corruption investigations and stuff.
Stop.
So the cops are idiots. So your cops are idiots, and they have no idea what's going on about the corruption investigation. And he speaks to the cops. First of all, everyone's in fear of this maniac. He's a megalomaniac. I mean, his nickname is Kaz Jong-un for a reason. He is out of his mind. And then he just called all of his cops a bunch of idiots. The guys don't even know, you know. We're up here. We know what's going on. They don't know.
I can't believe his response. He just blatantly said the entire rank and file are just a bunch of idiots. No, their eyes are closed. They can't see the appearance of impropriety. Why should you? That's basically what we say. What he just said is there is a level of corruption going on, but the cops aren't aware of it. They can't see it, so we're just business as usual. They're saying that basically what he just said, this is what they just told you. The unions are in bed with the enemy. So ask yourselves, anyone that's active right now, I've been saying it, ask yourselves, why are you still paying union dues? Stop paying union dues. You can get prescription and dental for the same price. Useless. They're in bed with the enemy. They just told you. They didn't say the cops are behind them. They said the unions for them, which shows you they're in bed with the enemy. And then he just told you that every cop that's out there right now is a complete idiot and they can't see what's going on. And that's why they hate this podcast, because John and Eric are out of state and our friends and listeners to the podcast. We built this network and we pointed a finger saying, look, this is the appearance of impropriety. We see it, and you're saying that the rank and file don't see it. You just call them stupid because some of your rank and file are on this podcast right now. You're stupid.
Unbelievable. That is sick. As soon as we get off, I'm clipping this out and posting this. This is disgusting. This is probably, this ranks up there with the dumbest things he's ever said. I think this is number one, actually. I think this is number one.
John,
I just hold on.
Again.
What are we at? 9:14. Hold on. We're at 9:14.
Play that again. That's
crazy. Let me go back to 9 minutes. Hold on. And by the way, she didn't ask him a question, but he has to interject himself. All right. So John goes. He has to interject himself. Well, let me go here, John. Let me go here. And if I don't know if any of you guys were watching. If you watch this interview again later, pay attention to him. Pay attention to Kaz Daughtry when John Shell and Tariq Shepard are talking. He's literally fidgeting under the table like he's getting ready to do a play for football. Like, you remember when he had his hand on Kemper and he like wanted to like, he's literally like, there's something wrong with this kid. Like, he should not be on the job. There's something wrong with him. But like, yeah,
no discipline.
No, there's something. It's not even that. It's more than no discipline. It's more.
We're preparing for 2025.
Yeah, man, and I'm going to add to that, John, that I lead a lot of these operations throughout the city, and I get to speak to the officers every single day when I'm out there. Out there last night, the night before, going out there again, and to them, it's business as usual. I don't even think that they even know like really what's going on, and as far as these the corruption investigations and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, we still have a job to do. We got to do what's best for New Yorkers and what's best for the agency to keep moving this department forward.
Oh my God. I still can't believe he said that. Every cop right now is like, what? We don't even know what's going on. We're watching what's going on here. So look, you got a complete sandwich here, right? You have Kaz Daughtry saying they don't know what's going on, and Tom Sullivan telling you everything's fine. They lean on me, I lean on them. Everything's fine. Don't worry. And then you got Tariq Shepard telling you, don't worry about this corruption probe. It doesn't matter. Even if they're all found guilty, we'll still handle it. It's okay. We're gonna be in charge from jail. This is the most ridiculous dais we've ever seen. He just insulted the entire police department. And again, you know what's funny, John? You know who's the bad guy? You are. Me. You know why? Because we're going to say what we've been saying, that every chief in this department is infected and compromised. Are you telling me not one, I guarantee, not one chief is going to stand up and say, wait a minute, you just insulted the entire police department? You insulted me. You're saying that the other chiefs don't know what's going on. Okay, so apparently they don't. Apparently, because from what I heard is that the chiefs only know what's going on in their department, in their area. They don't know what else is going on. The only ones that know what's going on is John and Eric from Florida and from California, and our friends and listeners that are active and retired, the ones that are active that have the guts to actually pay attention to what's going on, and the retired people that are actually like, whoa, wait a minute. This reminds us of corruption we've seen before. Ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely it's insane. And just like a side note, how the hell is Tom Donilon sitting like that? How do you even cross your legs in that tight of a space with the table brushed up against you? Like what is I mean, I don't know. I'm just not I'm not a fan of this guy. But I will agree. I agree. I agree a little bit with Daughtry though. I like thinking about it, he's right. The cops don't know what the hell is going on. They have no idea why you guys are still in charge of the NYPD or why Eric Adams is still the mayor. You're 100% right. So yes, I'm gonna actually confirm your statement. The cops don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know why you all haven't been removed yet. That's what they don't know. Same thing, we don't know why you guys haven't been removed. Why you still have a badge and a gun? The cops don't know why you put in for and received over $160,000 in overtime last year when you were a civilian member of service. They don't know why you're held unaccountable from using excessive force when they're not. There's a lot of things the cops don't know, but it's not that they don't know. It's just they're like, what the hell's going on? So he's 100% right about that. All right, let's go further into this.
John, but you know what's funny though? Before you go ahead, notice what Kaz Daughtry did not say. He didn't say nothing's going on. He could have said, because you're at the top, he could have said nothing's going on. He said they don't know what's going on. But you know who knows what's going on? The man that had his phone taken, Kaz Daughtry.
Yeah, unbelievable. Whatever. All right, let's see next.
Talk about this executive team. You guys have decades of experience. You're out there. You've been in the NYPD. You've seen so many changes. There's a lot going on now. Describe the state of the NYPD right now.
Well, I think you see it. We're on unprecedented times with change in laws you've got to deal with. Since 2022, when the whole world changed, the numbers changed, right? 225,000 migrants that the city's done a good job in handling. But this team of decades, we are professionals. We have a good resume. And the most important part is we're all friends, but we challenge each other. And when we challenge each other, it just makes us better. So very proud of the team. And I think the body of work speaks for itself.
We come in, we get in that war room together, we work together, and we make sure that the end product is something that New Yorkers can be proud of.
Let's talk about that crime reduction. Overall crime down about 2% year to date. Excellent progress. Daughtry sent me the graphic to prove the numbers, but the numbers are one thing. Feeling something different. We're out there reporting, we're out in transit. I'm out in Brownsville, Harlem, the Bronx, and people still are edgy, not feeling safe. How do you tackle that perception?
Well, perception comes down to the quality of life issues that the community complains about. So the number one complaint for the last couple of years was mopeds, scooters, and bikes. We've taken over 74,000. That is not easy. The second biggest complaint was smoke shops. We shut down 1,200 smoke shops. Transit.
Let's just go on that real quick. So they did take the ATVs. I'm not gonna lie. It's a very hard thing to do. And that a lot of the ATV problem, I think, stemmed from the hands-off style, progressive style of policing, coupled with the lack of any type of consequence for doing such. But the smoke shop thing, that's really to me, that's where I'm like, I can't even believe you're bringing it up.
What was interesting also is the virtual signaling. Did you notice that John Shell, they really told this line of ignoring certain years, right? He didn't say that the legislation changed 2020. He said 2022. So let's forget about the whole vaccine mandate. Let's forget about all the stuff going on with COVID. That we're going to ignore. Everything changed 2022. It did a great job of virtual signaling. And then we're going to mention the smoke shops, which is completely part of this corruption probe, has the appearance of impropriety. This is an epic fail by this day. Honestly, I'm nauseated by listening to these guys. And then Tariq Shepard wants to say he's in the war room. What war room is he in? Soft hands.
So, I mean, we talk about the smoke shops. It's like, first of all, I never agreed with the legalization of marijuana. I said right away, the way they were rolling it out, there was no way to properly regulate it. And basically in that law, there still isn't. So what they did is they legalized something, and now they violate all of these businesses' rights constitutionally, their right to a fair trial, their right to a speedy trial, their right to due process, their right to not improper search and seizure. And they're basically just walking into businesses and shutting them down without a due process. They're arbitrarily enforcing rules against people. They're taking money and product from people and not giving them vouchers. Recently the sheriff testified that he never took any money. They never confiscated any money from any of these stores, and that was a complete, utter, bold-faced lie. And he didn't know how much money. He didn't know how many cops were assigned. He didn't know how many arrests were assigned. And then just miraculously one day he wakes up and he finds $100 and something thousand in cash in his office, and he calls DOI, and they have no idea where it came from. And it's like, wow, shocker. So he's like touting this failed Operation Padlock to Protect as a thing in their public safety status. I mean, and again, this will be something else we'll pull into the documentary of where the NYPD is cheering on blatant corruption as part of their public safety profile. And then we're going to go on to trains, I guess. So let's hear what else he has to say.
We are encountering more people in transit and putting them into shelters. Transit crime itself, big perception piece. We're up 48% in crime in January. We're down 7% now. Huge turnaround. Roosevelt Avenue, which Commissioner Daughtry is spearheading right now. So those are the perception pieces that I think we're turning the page on. We're responding to what the community is asking, and we're doing it full force.
Still ahead.
But now we're
all right, so let's talk about that a little bit, like, because a lot of it, what he's talking about, perception, right? Like, what do you think?
Well, this has been the core mission for this administration, especially they're regurgitating what they get from Eric Adams, is fighting perception versus truth, right? And the perception is reality. The perception that people have is that crime is on the rise, because crime is on the rise and they feel it. There is a direct correlation to the numbers, to what they feel. And the numbers that they're providing is a complete lie. If crime was down, you wouldn't need this complete operation on Roosevelt Avenue led by Kaz Daughtry. If crime was down, you wouldn't need to remove all these ATVs, but crime is up. That's why we're getting all these ATVs. That's why we're getting all these illegal firearms. This is more pandering. This is more gaslighting. It's just an outright lie. Everything that they say is an outright lie. Nothing that they say is the truth. The only thing that was truth is when he said I lied. And that, I got to credit Amazing Aunt who made that comment. It's so true. She said that yesterday. That the only time he said something was true is when he said he lied. Everything they say is a complete lie. This whole operation with Kaz Daughtry is just putting a Band-Aid on it to maybe manipulate the crimes down, but it's not going to go away. It's going to just displace it. It's not something that's going away.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So and then he talks about Daughtry spearheading Roosevelt Avenue. I was arguing with someone the other day on social media, and they're like, "You just hate Kaz Daughtry," and I'm like, "I don't just hate Kaz Daughtry. I just think everything he does is a big media spectacle, and none of it's effective in the long term. There has been everything that I've seen from Kaz Daughtry is a huge waste of taxpayer money. There's no fiduciary responsibility for Kaz Daughtry whatsoever. He's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars every night, utilizing technology, utilizing hundreds of officers and resources, pulling resources from every end of the city to create a huge media spectacle and a social media campaign of perception, or what Marlon Bethel always calls a perception management. And what they're doing is they're taking all of these resources and all this technology and spending all this money, and every problem and every issue that Daughtry attacks, first of all, he's there. That's a big problem. Like, why are you at we don't need a deputy commissioner of operations at everything. We don't need your A team at everything. This should be done at a local precinct level, maybe in conjunction with some of your resources. But if you're there and the cameras are there, it already tells me that it's a fail. It already tells me in the short term, it'll be effective. You're going over to Canal Street. You're going over to Roosevelt. You're shutting down the vendors. You're running in with this big police presence. You're going to have your social media videos throughout the day. You have all your media. And right in the short term, it's effective. The minute you leave, it's gone. right? And you can do that for 2 days. You can do that for 3 days where Daughtry's going to show up with 100 officers. You could do that for a week. Maybe you could even do that for a month or 90 days, which I think they lowered it down to 60 days now on Roosevelt Avenue. But then calculate that. Now we're talking tens of millions of dollars in New York City taxpayer money. And the minute that operation stops, because those operations are completely unsustainable, the minute those operations stops, the problem persists. It comes right back. There are no long-term solutions from the Eric Adams administration. Everything is gaslighting. Daughtry is the king of gaslighting. John Shell is the mouthpiece for the perception management. Daughtry is the video social media handle for that perception management mouthpiece. So yeah, while it's good to see, and it's good. The media loves it. The media eats it up. Oh, look, the NYPD's here. They have all these big toys with them. All these cops. Look how many people there are. While it looks good for the cameras, the day-to-day of New York City, it does nothing for.
Yeah, it's like doing a podcast. Our background. You don't see everything. There's stuff I have. You can't even see. My kid's stuff is all over the place. It's an illusion. So is this. This is an illusion too. Everything they put on is a complete illusion. And you're right. They are they call themselves a self-proclaimed dream team. They are the dream team of gaslighting, dream team of lying, the dream team of fighting perception versus truth. Just an outright lie. And the fact that they're actually, I would have more respect for them. Again, just shows that there is stuff going on. Not one of them has said there's nothing going on. There's no corruption, that this is an outright lie, and they're talking to this police department. Did you hear that from them? I didn't hear that from them one time. They said the cops don't know what's going on. And they're saying what's going on right now, we could still continue to police. I would rather them, again, to be honest and say, you know what, there's a corruption probe going on. It is distracting. We're trying to focus. We need the feds to actually get this case done so we can actually focus on police work. That would have been more of an honest answer. Just an outright lie. Let's pretend it's not there. Ooh, it's not, it's okay. And that's the problem, is they don't speak the truth because they want to pretend. They want you, don't look over here. The cops are stupid. So are they stupid? I mean, I don't want to insult the cops, but that's what you're saying. You just said your cops are stupid. They have no idea what's going on. And again, John, now one of them said nothing's going on, and you won't hear from any chief in the police department right now say, oh, there's nothing going on. I don't hear that. That should be the stance. There's absolutely no corruption. The feds are wasting their time. Can we get back to work, please?
Yeah, John, Logic's finest. Today's the anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. If any of you guys aren't familiar with that, I got smashed in Sandy. I think you did too, Eric. My home got destroyed in that. I was actually working that night, and I worked for about a month after that before I had a day off. That was a pretty wild time. But Logic's finest says John Shell was sitting in a beach chair on Breezy Point during Hurricane Sandy and said, it's fine. It's just a nice slight breeze. But that's basically, it's a good analogy because that's basically what he said. Crime's good. Everything's good. No protests. There's no corruption. We just got to do our job. Everything's good. 100% hysterical. Nice slight breeze. So, all right, let's keep going.
Those are the perception pieces that I think we're turning the page on. We're responding to what the community is asking, and we're doing it full force.
Still ahead.
But now we're going into the holiday season. Roosevelt Avenue.
A battle on Roosevelt Avenue. Sex workers pushing back as the NYPD cracks down. We're talking about it coming up.
Why are you not investing in?
All right. So what are your thoughts around Roosevelt Avenue while we get through this commercial?
Oh, we talked about it in a prior podcast. I still remain with my stance that this is just a Band-Aid. It's not going to stop what's going on in Roosevelt Avenue. It's not going to stop the human trafficking. It's not going to stop prostitution. It's not going to stop the sex workers. It's actually going to make it worse because what they're doing is they're displacing it. So they're not getting to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is illegal military-age males and having these people deported and not being a sanctuary city. That's the root of the problem. So what they do is they put a Band-Aid. It's actually going to displace it. And now you're not going to have just one strip of Roosevelt Avenue. This is going to fester into different pockets throughout the city. So I think this is actually going to be more damaging than doing any good.
All right, here we go.
For years, Pix 11 has been reporting on alleged sex trafficking along Roosevelt Avenue in Queens. Recently, the NYPD launched a multi-agency task force to crack down on illegal activity in the so-called red light district. You talk about quality of life, Roosevelt Avenue. We were out there, major crackdown, shutdown of massage parlors, but they come right back. The complaint now is that some of the victims of sex trafficking are being treated more like criminals and they're not getting resources. What do you say to that?
And I heard that. I did read a couple of articles in regards to it was a press conference and sort of a rally at 104th Street and Roosevelt Avenue, and I invite those groups that held that press conference to come with me, come walk with me, walk down Roosevelt Avenue and talk to the families, talk to the business district. No parent wants to see, as they're taking their kid to school, see females scantily clad, scantily dressed on a corner, soliciting their husband for sex. Nobody wants to see that. We are committed to restoring Roosevelt Avenue to the way it was pre-pandemic and to the way it was when they first initiated Roosevelt Avenue.
We've seen migrant crime. We've also seen gang activity within the migrant community. And then it quieted down for a minute, Chief. Do we have a gang problem with migrants, and how are you dealing with it to keep New Yorkers safe?
All right, so migrant crime, is it affecting our numbers? Absolutely it is. But as we said time and time again, it's a small number of migrants, not to paint the picture that it's all migrants. So we always say that. In terms of, we're talking about TDA, Tren de Agua, that's what we're asking. Are they hurting us throughout most of the city? Yes, they are. Are they all over Times Square every day robbing people? No, they're not. So I want to just kind of say, yes, we take them very seriously. Our intel reports tell us they're into extortion, guns, pink cocaine called Tussie. You've heard that before. You've seen the videos on mopeds. And look, they shot 2 of our cops in Queens. A TDA member on a moped from a shelter in Queens shot 2 of our cops.
How are you getting ahead of them?
By doing shows just like this to get the proper narrative out, give.
Dude, that's how he's getting ahead of it. He's giving the proper narrative. He's getting ahead of Tren de Aragua by doing shows. Exactly what Marlon said is the plan, and he just told you that right now. Perception management.
Yeah, I want to say Marlon the other one. Perception management. That is the core mission. By doing shows to change your perception. While all this is going on here, and it's mass chaos. I think someone said about Animal House. That was it. Animal House. Mass chaos. Everything's fine because we're going to keep telling you, no matter what you see, what you're seeing is a lie. No, it's not a blue sky. It's a gray sky. They're going to keep telling you and change your perception. That's what they're fighting. And for him to go out and just an outright lie, because you had, again, that's why I say these chiefs are not on board with each other. Chief Savino. So is Chief Savino a liar? Because Chief Savino said you have upwards of 20 some odd robberies in around 42nd Street from the Little Devils, which stems from Tren de Aragua, which Tren de Aragua is a huge problem. It's a problem throughout this entire country. It's an organization that's worth $10 to $15 million. These stem from 8 separate countries from South America. They have created a network in this country. It's a huge problem. John Shell is outright lying to you. If anybody buys this, it's just pure BS. Another lie.
Yeah, absolutely. So they basically have no plan. Again, they're trying to explain their plan on Roosevelt Island and their plan is we're just going to downplay it. There's not things happening every night in Times Square. Not maybe there's things happening every night in Times Square. So that's a blatant bold-faced lie. But maybe things aren't happening when you show up 100 deep. Yeah, maybe you quell that temporarily for a short-term benefit, like we said, effective. Like all the plans that come out of the Eric Adams administration are short-term effective. Long-term, they have zero impact and they deter nothing long-term. They just displace. We're just going to displace. We're going to have this great social media campaign. We're going to post a couple of videos, 3-4 videos a day, and that's it. And then things happen, and it's like, it's not that bad. We're going to put out the proper narrative. What are you doing about this? We're going to put out the proper narrative. You heard it. He says it right there. That is the plan. Just a little side note. What?
He didn't answer the question either. He didn't answer the questions.
They haven't answered any questions. I mean, even when
They asked Kaz Daughtry, what are you doing? The sex workers feel like they're the ones being victimized and he didn't answer the question. All he said was that, they're soliciting someone's husband for sex, but they didn't say what they're doing about the women that are being human trafficked. So we're not going to pay human trafficking. We're not going to pay attention to that. Again, just shows you it's just a Band-Aid. They don't really care about the root of the problem.
No, they haven't answered one question. Even when she asked Donilon in the beginning of the interview, she asks him, "Oh, what are your thoughts on the NYPD?" He's like, my dad was a carpenter, worked for the NYPD. It's like, what does that have to do with what you think about the NYPD? Why? They haven't answered one question. Side note, there's a lot of people. I'm not getting message after message about John Shell on Newsmax that all these lefty politicians are going after him. They want an investigation done by DOI and all these other agencies. They want ethics complaints against him for going on Newsmax during that rally. I'm going to say I think it was completely unprofessional. I think that John Shell should be held to the same standard that any officer would be for going on a social media appearance unauthorized. We just had Stephen Lee on the show, and he talked about what happened to him. So I think that John Shell should fall into that same thing and possibly maybe something for politically. Do I think it's nonsense that this is what the politicians are focused on? Absolutely, I do. Do I think it's insane that we've had a lot of Hispanic politicians, notably in the 2-3 precinct, Congressman, Representative Espelot, I forget the other loser's name, the land chair for New York City Council. Do I think that all of those things are ridiculous, that they're standing out there doing a press conference about a comedian who said a joke about Puerto Rico while they're involved, their district was involved in a corruption scandal involving New York City Mayor's Eric Adams' office and the NYPD, and that's what they're talking about? Yeah, I do. Same way I think it's ridiculous about John Shell, but I think he should be held to the same standard as the rank and file about that. What do you think about that, Eric? There's a lot of people. There's actually letters being sent left and right to DOI, all the state senators, of course, all the people that are running against Eric Adams. They're all harping on it too. What do you think about it?
First of all, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think that the legislature should be first and foremost, they should be focused on the laws and policies they've enacted for the city that has really hurt crime. But they're more focused on this. At the same token, yes, it's good. If we had a department that actually had a police commissioner that was actually leading the charge, then this wouldn't have to be an issue for these politicians right now. He's completely unprofessional. Everything he's doing is so outlandish. It's an embarrassment for the patch, it's an embarrassment for the police department. But he does have to be dealt with. Absolutely. The fact that he could actually parade to be a fanboy to Donald Trump, and listen, I'm voting for Donald Trump, but the fact that he could, I'm not in uniform, retired. The fact that he could be a fanboy in uniform and have his family there, and a cop can't do that, and a cop would face the arm of the administrative trial of the police department is ridiculous. Complete hypocrisy. Get these bums out, But at the same token, I appreciate the content. But if I was a member of the police department, I would say these are all bums. Get them out. Not only did they just say that the rank and file are idiots, they said Chief Savino is an idiot. Just insulted Chief Savino and all the detectives that are out there investigating these robberies because he said, there's really nothing going on. There's stuff going on, but not every day. So I'm sure the message is quite different. If anyone here is active, and if you attend CompStat yourself, or if you know anyone who goes to CompStat, ask them the discussions that they're having about 42nd Street. I'm sure it's going to be quite different than what they're saying here about the robberies that are going on there. Because if that's the case, Chief Savino, if you're listening to this podcast, and I'm sure you do, or some of the detectives in your organization do, you shouldn't even show up to CompStat. Because according to John Shell, there's nothing going on 42nd Street. Your detectives should be doing other work. They shouldn't be busy with this stuff. Or maybe it's because you're not documenting them as robberies and they're juvenile reports. So which one is it? Either way, it's a lie.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So right now there's a oversight hearing by DCAS about the leasing practices on they think they got Molina up there. So I'm thinking maybe we run that after this episode. We'll keep it going. Maybe we'll run our ads and we'll keep the stream going, and we'll bring you that if you guys want to watch it. I don't know what you're gonna get out of it, but it is definitely something I recommend watching. I don't know if we should run it or not, but it's, this is involved in this whole corruption scandal as well, their leasing practices, which have come under question friends and benefactors getting these contracts instead of, you know, going through bid processes and things of that nature. But let's see. Let's keep talking about this. We're almost done here with this video. So everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's good.
Some numerical numbers, but we live this every day, this team. We know exactly what's going on. We know who we're dealing with. And our detective bureau, like any other gang they've shut down in the last 10 plus years, are using the same approach with our federal partners or local DAs. They will be dealt with. Our detective bureau is the best in the world, and they'll be treated accordingly.
Yeah, Nick, I don't want to glorify TDA or any other gang in the city. They're not intimidating to the NYPD, and they're not going to intimidate people in this city. The bottom line is that when we put our resources together with our state and federal partners, they'll be going in handcuffs just like the rest of the gangs that we've had in the city. They will lose. And so my suggestion to them is find another place to go, because it's not going to work.
I've been out visiting the community since I arrived here, and they want to help you. They want to provide information to you, and you go out to different sectors of the community, and they enjoy seeing the NYPD. They enjoy meeting us and us listening to them what the issues are.
Community policing, neighborhood policing, these are strategies and programs you guys have worked on over the years. What new strategies are you working on, particularly gearing towards young people and keeping them on the right path?
I don't think it has to be new. I just think we have to continue to build on a lot of the things that we are doing. I mean, you have Commissioner Stewart and Community Affairs out there teaching young people how to fly planes. You have them out there teaching them about water safety, how to understand riptides so they don't lose their life at a beach. You have them out there teaching them how to do resumes, how to learn how to balance, their books for their money when they go to school. How does credit card debt work? We're doing everything we can, including sports, golf, you name it, to try and keep kids off the street. De-escalation, putting them through scenarios to deal with the situations that they face in their own neighborhoods. We can't save everybody. There's some youth that's going to be determined to do bad things, and they have to suffer consequences for those.
Don't trust me. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Shoot. Put the knife down.
Before we go further, what do you think about that, dude?
No, I just think that I think Tariq Shepard is going to find himself. He's going to be a politician one day for the Democratic Party. He just regurgitated the same buzzwords that every pandering Democratic socialist politician puts out there, and that's de-escalation. We teach them de-escalation. What is de-escalation, Tariq Shepard, as the chief of staff? What is that? You didn't tell us. You don't even know what that is. It's absolutely, again, more gaslighting. And then he talks about Trende Araguas. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Are you kidding me? That's a $10 to $15 million organization that their mission and core is adaptability, to adapt to the American lifestyle so that they can make even more money. And they're doing it right now because of your sanctuary cities. They're adapting to sanctuary cities where they get their blanket of protection. And then John Shell talks about working with federal partners. No, you're not, because you're not deporting them. Lies, lies, lies. Marlon Bethel, you were absolutely right. Perception management. It shouldn't be called the Dream Team. It should be called NYPD Perception Management. You nailed it, brother.
Well, so and then the other thing I don't understand is, like, are we the DOE? Are we the Department of Education? Because literally everything that he talked about, other than maybe the swim, and even the swim, like, why are we doing that? That should be a program provided by the city with lifeguards. Like, what is the NYPD getting involved in swim classes for? Why are we teaching kids how to balance books, credit card debt? Why isn't this happening at the school level? Why is the NYPD getting involved in that? He didn't say anything to me that if I was the mayor, I would have the NYPD involved. I'm like, this, when I'm listening to it, I'm like, so we're doubling down on what the school's doing? Or if the schools aren't doing it, why aren't they doing it? Why are you doing it is the question, and like, because you shouldn't be doing that. And, his messaging to the Trende Aragua is just completely off the wall, especially if they look at his arrest record. Then they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we're not too worried about it, dude. And then, I just watching him in uniform just annoys me, because I'm just waiting to see Kaz Daughtry just show up in a uniform one day with a 3-star chief with 3 stars on his shoulder, like he is the chief, because he would. And he would have no shame about it either. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm a chief now. Yeah, no, you could go from being an explorer to a 3-star chief. You could do that."
Well, I think they're absolutely. First of all, they're complete idiots. I don't even think they understand what they're dealing with. So, Trend de Aragua is not your run-of-the-mill street gang or some type of crew that comes to the neighborhood. This is a gang that spoils from the prisons of Venezuela. Right, started with a criminal there who's actually smart and has military training, and it's spanned to 8 separate different countries in South America, where they have a large volume. They have a lot of money. Maybe even more than 15 million now. And now they're in the States and they have a network throughout the entire country. That is not just isolated to New York City. You're not just shutting them down. Not at all. This is a network that's going on throughout the entire country right now, and they're in the sanctuary cities. So they have no knowledge about Trend de Aragua. They don't know that their core mission is about adaptability. And they have no clue, and they're utilizing the resources that have been provided to them, which includes shelter and money and funding. These are not some run-of-the-mill idiots from the street. This is a smart organization, and clearly they have no idea what they're deal with, and they're completely unmatched, and unmatched to the city's peril.
All right, so let's end off. We got 3 minutes left with this video. We're about 2 hours in. I don't think we're going to bring in that stream because we're pretty far into it, but it is good, and I definitely want to watch it. So, yeah, so let's end with this video.
A controversial police shooting sparks community outrage.
This is what we talking about, $2.90.
This was not over fare evasion. This is over someone armed with a deadly weapon.
More details on the record next.
I like welding because if you do a good job and you work hard at it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, but it's saying right now, hold on, we'll get past this commercial. But it's saying right now that so Lincoln wrestlers tearing into Jesse Hamilton, who's questioning why he was picked for DCAS real estate post, despite he has a little relevant experience. So Jesse Hamilton was just like a pick to be in charge of real estate leasing for the city. And he has 0 real estate experience, but of course that doesn't matter because Adams just puts his friends in there, right? So he puts him in there, and so wrestlers tearing into him. And that's, I can't stand wrestler on a lot of things, but he's pretty good at these hearings. Not that they go anywhere, not that they do anything, but he's pretty good. But all right, let's continue. Let's pick this up. Sorry about that. My timing was off with that.
Has been criticized for an incident in Brooklyn, police-involved shooting. There was a gentleman who did not pay the fare. Police engaged with him, and officers opened fire in a crowded subway. 2 innocent bystanders were hit, and an officer was hit. Did you go back and look at what went wrong in that incident and reassess any training? Taser didn't work. What's going on as far as taking a look at that?
So every time we have a police-involved shooting, we go back and we do a wholesome look at what could we do better. We're always looking to be better. But just to bring it back, the narrative, this was not over fare evasion. This is over someone armed with a deadly weapon. Mind you, a person that the cops did a good job the first time and asked him to leave. The second time, you saw it, drop the knife dozens of times, close quarters, trains are coming, 8-foot platform, trying to get people to train as a person has an open knife on the train within a very close distance. You know, they did the best they could.
Let's talk about tasers. And most of our taser discharges, which that's around 70% of the time, somewhere in the high 60s, somewhere in the low 70s, but I say let's use 70%. The tasers we consider to be effective.
Before we go further, what do you got to say about that?
First of all, it's an outright lie, right? The FBI statistics, based on FBI statistics I got years ago, it's 49% of the time. And even to back that up, we had an AP article that said it's about 49% of the time it's ineffective. And also, we just recently had the city documented. It said that according to the city, it was ineffective 40% of the time. So his numbers are way off. The numbers that I provided are much similar to what provided by the city and also AP press. So complete lie. 70% of the time is an outright lie that's not defending the cops. I will finally say that what John Shell said was right. The cops didn't do anything wrong. And because immediately, that's what I didn't like about the question. She said, what did the cops do wrong? And I wish they would have picked up and said, well, the cops didn't do anything wrong. They were dealt with the armed perpetrator. So John Shell, in his way, did answer it pretty good. But this is just absolutely ridiculous by Tariq Shepard. Those numbers are way off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think, we were completely in line with the department's stance that those cops did nothing wrong. I think we were actually the biggest advocates of those two cops. It was a horrible situation. It was a terrible situation ultimately. So we agree with them. But yeah, there's never any strong messaging. There's never any strong support. And then I agree with 100% when it comes to the tasers. I don't believe that 70% is anywhere accurate in national standards or in NYPD standards. I think we hear it's successful, like officially a little bit over 50% of the time, but it's definitely much lower than that. I mean, because like we always bring like the dynamic taser videos, and they fail and they fail and they fail. I actually do have a taser video that happened recently, and it's two different cops trying to taser a dude with his shirt off, who's a big guy, and they get a proper spread on him and everything. So it's hard because, when you shoot out the taser, like these little wires shoot out, right? And they have to have a far enough spread for you to get electrical like energy through your body to lock you up. So if it gets too close to you, it's not good. But they actually get a proper spread on this guy, which is rare, which I'm saying is less than 50% of the time. But they have the proper spread. They hit him. And when they hit him, it's completely ineffective. He just rips him out. And then it happened twice, not just once. It happened with the first taser, it happened with the second taser. So yeah. All right, let's go further, see what he's got to say about it.
There are many reasons why a taser can be ineffective. Sometimes it's the amount of layers of clothes. Sometimes the person can fight through pain. Sometimes it's an insufficient area that the prongs were deployed. There's many more reasons why. However, we should not be bringing tasers up into the conversation when we're talking deadly weapons. Tasers were never designed to equate with guns and knives. Tasers are basically the same level of force as using pepper spray. All right? They are not designed to deal with deadly force.
100%. I agree with him totally with that. 100%.
That was, again, at least out of this, this interview, we got finally some decent statement. That was the only thing that John Shell and Tariq Shepard said that was accurate, right? They actually defended the cops because they're armed with a deadly weapon, and a taser is absolutely not the appropriate tool to bring to a gunfight. I always use this analogy. When we were kids, we'd always play rock, paper, scissors. Paper beats rock, scissors beat paper, and rock beats a scissor. Same thing. Gun beats a knife, not a taser. So that's my message on that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that was the only like truthful part of this interview. Is the end part, and I agree with Tariq Shepard totally at the end of it, where it's like, and I think that's something we said on the show when we broke down that train video, is that like why are the tasers involved in this situation? It should never be. So I think that was strong messaging. I still say they have no business being there. They should be removed. It's good to say something right every now and then. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I think we're 2 hours, 22 minutes into it. That was a long interview. That was a very long interview. But I thought it was necessary. Everybody kept sending it to us. So I appreciate all you guys for continuing to send us the videos that come out that you want us to speak about. Eric, you got anything before we get out of here?
No, shout out friends, listen to the podcast. Thank you so much for the donations, your support in the podcast. We're growing together. Thank you for the coffee and donuts. We really appreciate it. I mean, this is how we break down our perspective. You're allowed to have an opinion, and you should, to make the police department better. And I will say this, the chiefs of the police department that watch this podcast, this is an opportunity to admonish yourself and stand up and say, this is wrong. This is wrong that they're actually calling the rank and file pretty much idiots. They didn't say nothing's going on. They said they don't know what's going on. The question is, and I'll leave you with this, do you know what's going on? Don't keep your eyes closed. You have to live a life. This is just a part of your story. Don't make the police department your whole story. It's a part of your story. And that's what the part that some people like John Shell have a problem with when it comes to John and myself. And John, you know this, is they can't accept that there's life after the police department. It's just part of the story, not the whole story. Thank you, friends, and listen to the podcast. Thank you for your input. We appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow, 8:05 live. Take care. Check out our friend Tom Sullivan.
Tom Sullivan is the Republican, Conservative, and Common Sense Party candidate for New York State Assembly District 23. Tom is a financial professional who served simultaneously in the United States Army Reserve for 30 years and has now retired. His district covers Ozone Park, Lindenwold, Howard Beach, Broad Channel, and the Rockaway Peninsula.
Come November, I would empower our law enforcement agencies to go out there and do their job and not put them or their families or their pensions at risk for doing their jobs. We need drastic change in Albany so that we have a say in this matter, and they realize people of New York State will hold them accountable.
The Sullivan family has a legacy of service. Tom served for 30 years protecting and defending the rights of others. Come this November, he has earned your support. This advertisement's paid for by the Friends of Tom Sullivan.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888-901-BLUE. That's 888-901-BLUE.